Welcome to the Friends of Fans Benefits Baseball Podcast. I am Justin Mason, joined as always by Dave McDonald. How you doing, my friend?
That would be me. I'm doing better than you since my heat is working.
Yeah.
Any bets on the Super Bowl yesterday?
Nope. I just watched it. I enjoyed watching the Eagles trounce the Chiefs. Like, that was it for me. Like, I ate a bunch of chicken wings. Yeah. How about you?
Just hate watching Patrick Mahomes.
I just didn't want to see a team three-peat. Like, I honestly, I don't have any hate against the Chiefs. And even being a Commanders fan, I don't really hate the Eagles. Mostly because, a buddy of mine, a really good buddy of mine who passed away a few years ago was an Eagles fan, and they won the Super Bowl the year he passed away. So, like, for me, it's like, it's a little reminder of my buddy Jon.
Okay.
So, for me, I don't like seeing dynasties unless they're my team. Right. So that's to me the thing is I want my team to be a dynasty. I don't want any other team to be a dynasty.
All right. That's a fair take. Yeah, I hung out with like 10 of my friends and just watched it. I had some Super Bowl bets, but they didn't go very well. There's not a lot with the Chiefs pretty much being out of it after the first quarter or second quarter at best. It was the Eagles didn't really have to throw the ball much at that point, so it was rough for the betting crowd, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to bet a ton. I used to bet a ton of props on the Super Bowl every year, but California still hasn't legalized sports betting, and most offshore sites use crypto, and I don't use crypto, so like that. That's an issue for me. So yeah, so I don't bet anymore on sports unless I'm in Vegas, right? So
probably for the best.
yeah, it's great. I mean, I'm sure it will become a problem once it is legal in California, which I expect it to be at some point.
Yeah.
Today we got a crap ton to talk about. We've got news. We're gonna go NFBC round by round again, do rounds 6 through 10. And then we're going to talk about some of the worst investments in fantasy baseball, and then the turf draft. Yeah, maybe we'll see. I like Dave mentioned, my heater went out a few days ago. My heater for my house, not my office doesn't have a heater. And so I have to remove a bunch of stuff in my garage in order for a worker to get it. But it is freezing here. Not freezing compared to like Cleveland, but like freezing for California. Like, it legitimately hit, I think, 30 degrees last night. So having a heater that works is going to be important for me. So if we're running too long on the other subjects, we may cut one and move it to next week. But let's just jump into the news and try to get through that. Not a ton that's like huge news. So I think we can get through it pretty quickly. Yeah. Yoan Moncada to the Angels. Do you care?
Oh God, it's the most Angels move ever. They're so horribly managed. It's pathetic. I think Moncada and Randall might be the worst and most frustrating third base tandem I've ever seen any team have there. Like, it's horrendous.
It's pretty amazing, honestly, right? Like from just like a logistical standpoint, like. Because I know what they're thinking is like, if we can get 300 plate appearances from both of them, that might be a decent 600 plate appearance player. The problem is they have to get those guys healthy at the same time.
Even when they're healthy, like, what are you expecting? Like, they haven't been good since I don't even know, 2019. I can't remember. They're not. I don't care. They're both awful. I will not be drafting either of them.
Yeah, I don't even think I would draft Moncada in a DC. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So next move, though, I kind of like. It's Tommy Pham to the Pirates. Any interest there?
Yeah, I think Pham. He's one of those guys that he just keeps hanging around. Like, he feels. He's 36, so it's not like he's in his 40s yet. He's definitely not a guy who you're gonna be like counting on to be a main part of your team, but as like a super late pick who can give you some power with some steals and should give you a decent average. Assuming that they give him decent run in Pittsburgh, which it's Pittsburgh, so they probably will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it could be a nice late pick.
Right now, roster resource has him projected to lead off.
Okay. I mean,
and I don't necessarily disagree. Now, I think like if Pham like struggles, he would obviously move down the lineup, and he could be in a short side platoon with like Paliasos, but I think they're going to give him an opportunity to be kind of an everyday player. I don't know if they should be leading him off, especially against righties. I want my boy Spencer Horwitz leading off, but I really like Pham. You know, I mean, I think this is going to be a pretty good price for him, even with it going up as it inevitably will over the course of the next few weeks now that he's signed.
Yeah.
But it's a good spot. Like, you know, it's not a great park, but if he's hitting at the top half of that lineup, like top half of the lineup is decent. I mean, you've got Reynolds, Cruz, McCutchen, Bart. Like, that's not a bad top half of the lineup.
They've had worse. So
yes, absolutely for Pittsburgh. Let me rephrase. Not a bad top lineup for Pittsburgh.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you know, they're obviously not going to start with Horwitz leading off, considering his lack of MLB experience. But he's the type of guy who, like, he has the skills.
Perfect. Yeah, he's the perfect.
Eventually, like they might eventually move him up there in like, you know, May or June or something like that. We'll see.
Yeah. Next piece of news on the docket is the big one. Pete Alonso back to the Mets. Was there any doubt in your mind this was going to happen?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't really pay attention too much to what was going on with him. I didn't hear like any news though. Like there's just like nothing on Alonso. So I guess at that point I kind of figured he's probably going back to the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there could be like a team like the Giants, maybe like that kind of swoop in. You know, they were a team last year who swooped in on Blake Snell and Matt Chapman. You know, in kind of short term, kind of prove it deals type of thing. But ultimately, the Mets were the landing spot that I had for Alonso at the beginning of the offseason. I know he really wanted a long-term deal. He should have never turned down the extension that they offered him in season last year, the 5-year, $120 million one or whatever it was. But yeah, he goes back. I love him going back to New York. You know, you kind of have that entire same team coming back, except for the addition of Juan Soto. I think this is going to be a nice bounce back year for Pete Alonso, with Lindor and Soto hitting in front of him, Vientos and Nimmo hitting behind him. Like, he could easily drive in 120 runs. So I'm a big Pete Alonso guy. I don't mind the price as long as it doesn't go up too much. Currently, Pete Alonso's price, as I'm looking for it on the ADP sheet and not finding it, probably because it's lower than I expected it to be. Yeah, Gus was. He's picked 61 since the 26th of January, which is the ADP we'll be using for it tonight. That is going to go up for sure. But as long as it doesn't go up into like the first 3 rounds, like I'm okay with Pete Alonso in the 4th round. What about you?
I mean, he's just never the guy I'm going to take, because I just think that his profile is just, yes, he has, you know, big power, but it's just unspectacular kind of outside of that. Like, I'm not getting any steals. I'm not getting any speed. And you can make the argument for where he's going. You don't need to get those things, but generally I like to build my team with better hitters earlier. And then by that point, I'm looking towards the starting pitching side of things. So even at pick 61, I don't really have a ton of interest in him. I think it's fine if you want to build your roster around that. But yeah, I don't think I'll have any Alonso this year.
Oh, that's fine. Like I don't mind like if you want to pass on Alonso, especially because there are guys, you know, going behind him. Like if you need that power that you can get. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Like Kyle Schwarber goes pick 78. You know, is there that big of a difference between Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso? Brent Rooker, Marcell Ozuna all go, you know, pick 70, 71, something like that. So like, yeah, I don't have a problem if you want to pass on him and go a different direction. Then we get some major signings. Ben Gamel to the Astros. How much do you not care about this?
When I saw it on the outline of the show notes, I almost just wrote "Y" in all capital letters.
He's gonna be a starter, is why.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I mean,
I know it's a roster resource. I just don't really care what roster resource projects. I
mean, like it seems like they don't want to spend money because they want to go over the luxury tax. So, like, I think it's him or Taylor Trammell. I prefer Trammell.
Or it could be Mauricio Dubon. I don't know. I mean, or maybe someone from their minors.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But the bottom line is, you don't care. I don't care.
No, I don't care.
Let's talk about another signing you don't care about. Harrison Bader, the Twins. Because I don't care about it either. But he did sign a deal. This is the only free agent contract that the Twins have given out this year. Isn't that insane?
I think the Twins just hate healthy players, like really just hate them. They're like, we're just gonna put the most injury-prone team ever cobbled together. We got Correa, Buxton, Royce Lewis, Bader, Jose Miranda, Brooks Lee's coming off of an injury. I think Julian I don't even know if Julian can even play.
I don't think he had an injury. I think he just wasn't playing.
Yeah, Austin Martin. I mean, like all these guys, just severe injury issues. Just like that, everybody's gonna be picking them to beat the Guardians, and I'm like, okay, maybe if their team could stay healthy, they have a shot to beat the Guardians, but there's no way. Like this, I think that
I do a chat on Monday mornings on Fangraphs, and someone asked me like, are the Guardians like a fourth place team? And I was like, I mean, I think all four teams are really, really even. Like if any one of those teams finish 1 through 4, I'm not going to be surprised. I think Detroit is getting better. I think Kansas City's getting better. I think the Guardians are still good. And I think the Twins just need better health outcomes.
I think a lot of people, you included, are underrating the Guardians. And I get it, like looking at them on paper, but they're gonna win the division again.
Huh, here you go. If you're a bettor, go bet and then blame Dr. Dave when it doesn't come true. Another signing we don't care about, Randall Grichuk to the Diamondbacks.
Randall Grichuk to the Diamondbacks, yeah. He's been there before, right?
Yeah.
In the past. I mean, he's a guy who, mashes lefties, and I think that's pretty much going to be his role again. Probably sharing time with Pavin Smith, I'm guessing, if Pavin Smith actually does start. I don't know. I could easily see Alex Thomas getting some run there too. I don't know. I'm assuming McCarthy. Have they said anything about McCarthy being a full-time starter? Like, I haven't seen anything, but I haven't really looked extensively yet.
I think he's going to be, just because the defense is so good, and I mean he did hit well. So like, I think they're going to at least give him the shot to start. But I think, a lot of those guys you just mentioned are all on short leashes, right? Like, it's clear that there are certain guys who are kind of penciled, or like not penciled in, but like cemented into playing time, and then guys like Jake McCarthy, Pavin Smith, Alec Thomas, Randall Grichuk, like they're going to have to fight for their roles. And spring training will be big for him. Beginning of the season will be big for him. But I think right now, Jake McCarthy, because of the defense, will be the everyday center fielder unless he's just terrible.
They kind of not quite to Tampa levels, but they kind of had like you said, other than the guys like Carroll, Cattell, even Cattell though, I feel like they gave days off a decent amount.
They have to because he gets hurt all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he hasn't lately.
He hasn't recently. So I'll knock on wood. I've forgiven him for his past injury woes. I'm willing to draft him. But they're still going to give him time off.
But I mean, like they do guys will like. I remember Lourdes Gurriel was getting a bunch of days off last year too. It's just like guys who even the ones I thought would be kind of safer playing time, like unless your name was Eugenio Suarez or Christian Walker, you pretty much got days off. So actually looking at it, Christian Walker he only got the end of the year. So yeah. So I mean, we don't really care about Grichuk. He's a short side platoon bat.
All right. Another move you don't care about?
Yep.
Ramon Laureano to the Orioles.
Same thing. It's another short side platoon bat. I imagine they'll probably play him maybe at all three positions, because he did play center, left, and right, I believe, last year. And between Tyler O'Neill with his health, Mullins with his platoon splits, and And Colton Cowser also. I mean, I think it's too early to say, but he did struggle in the minors against lefties too, and he is a lefty, and he struggled last year in the majors against lefties. Not like horribly.
The thing about Cowser is his defense will keep him in.
Right. I mean, yes and no. They did sit him last year at times too. So I don't know what to think about Cowser. I kind of go back and forth. He did. I mean, he got some days off. I don't know. He's probably fine, but yeah. I mean, Laureano we'll put it this way: Laureano will play versus all the lefties that he can handle, and he'll probably get some run against some righties occasionally too.
All right. I don't care about Ramon Laureano, but like he'll probably get 350 plate appearances and have moments of relevancy, but I just don't care. I just put it on there because it was the news that happened this week. Now let's get to the news you added to the rundown. Strider could be back by late April. Does this change your opinion on drafting him or not drafting him?
No, not really. I mean, I kind of give it some thought because James Anderson is a guy who he's a lot like me in that he avoids significant injury risks too, especially early in drafts. And I do expect Strider as we get, if this is holding true, like where he's going to be back before May, I think his draft stock is going to shoot way up. Yeah. But it's like he's coming off of an internal brace, and he's already had Tommy John in his past too.
Yep.
I just don't know what to expect there. And like and I'm not saying that he's Walker Buehler, but after seeing what happened to Buehler coming off of his second, how can you not be somewhat concerned there? So
this feels like, and we're going to talk more about it in that section of things we try to avoid, but like this feels like the year of people not heeding previous history on injuries. Like it's just like there's so many guys that are coming off of Tommy John or have like massive injury red flags that are going way too high in the ADP for me.
You think that makes this year any different than any other year? I mean, why do you think? The reason I keep saying this is because it keeps being a thing. I've been saying this for.
It's not that it's any different than any other year. I just think there are more guys that fit that kind of mold this year that people are just ignoring right now.
Yeah, I think. I think a lot of people. The more information we get on like stuff and like looking into guys, their arsenals, people. Get hyper focused on the stuff and forget about the other things like their health. And that'll never be how I approach it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Javier Assad has an oblique issue. How worried are you?
I mean, yeah, I just put it in there because he was technically supposed to start the season, the rotation. Now they're saying Colin Ray might start in his stead. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, you're kind of coming up on the point where if he's got an oblique, he probably wouldn't be healthy until right around the start of the regular season. So he'd probably be behind in spring training. So I assume he'll not be in the rotation now because of that.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't really going to be likely drafting a lot of Javier Assad, but no. So that's to me, like, I don't really care too much. But again, this is just a whole episode of news we don't care about. I should just clip this into its own episode and just be like, don't listen to this. Well, here's a guy I do love, and that's Nico Hoerner. He won't miss much time, is the quote.
Right.
Where are you at on Nico Hoerner?
I
love Nico. Let me clarify. I love Nico Hoerner from a overall skills perspective. I don't necessarily love him this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. Oddly enough, Jake is looking for ways to fit him in, and I don't. On his teams, like he's like, I can hold someone, then bring him back. I'm like, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I get that he's going like 220, so it's late, but I think that kind of reflects the risk there. I'm just not going to go that direction. I don't see any reason to do that. I mean, second base sucks. There's no way around it, but like I plan on attacking second base well before Nico Hoerner is coming off the board. And I just don't know what you're going to be getting when he does come back. And this is a guy who has an extensive injury history too. It's kind of one of those things that doesn't get talked about enough. Nico Hoerner has a lot of injury issues throughout his career.
Yeah. Like I said, I love Nico Hoerner from a a skills perspective, and if he was completely healthy, I'd be all in on him. But that he's not completely healthy. The last report we got, which was like 3 weeks ago, was that he hadn't even started hitting or throwing. I'm not drafting a guy like that. Like, unless I see him in spring training games, so like maybe we get to the end of March and I see him in spring training games and they said he's gonna be ready for the start of the season. Okay, then I'll draft Nico Hoerner. But until I see him play, I'm not drafting him.
Yeah, agreed.
So, all right, then the final piece of news: Jon Gray, closer ?
Yeah, well, it just came up again, and we it had kind of come up a couple times earlier, so I don't know if they're kind of, it came up on RotoWire today or yesterday or something. It was recently, and I was like, oh, are they talking about this even more? It says that he's being mulled as a closer option. The Rangers have had internal discussions about the possibility of using Gray as their closer, according to Evan Grant of the Dallas Morning News. I think it's really interesting because I think he has the perfect profile of a closer, and he's a guy who cannot stay healthy as a starter. So I think it would be a great move for him. And if I'm doing DCs right now, I'm not leaving my DCs without Jon Gray because you're going to be able to get him for super cheap, and you could be getting a high-end closer in return. So there's nobody there like who profiles as a closer. Like Chris Martin is your best bet. Maybe he's 39 years old. I mean, and like he's always been like a setup man. Like Robert Garcia, maybe might be the most interesting skills, but Jon Gray would be a better closer than either of them. So I just think it's a really, if I'm drafting right now, Jon Gray is a guy I'm drafting everywhere I can because
he's currently going at pick 467, which is a steal.
Right.
Like even if he is just a fifth starter, like they decide that he's going to be a fifth starter, like 467 is fine. Like you're not hurt by that pick. But if he's the closer, he's jumping 300 picks at least.
Oh yeah.
So like if you're drafting right now at pick 400 or something like that, you should be jumping on Jon Gray.
Now, if we're using NFBC Draft Champions ADP, so that's the draft and hold format. Now, if you're drafting for Earth, obviously there's only 450 picks in the draft, and I would not wait until the last round. I would jump him up.
As I said, pick 400, go take him.
Yeah. If not, maybe even once you get into like the mid 20s, like around 25, 26, 27, take him somewhere in there where you don't have an obvious guy on the board to take.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our round by round and kind of discuss that. We're in round 6 right now, which is pick 75 through 90. Who's the guy you love?
So this is the range where there's a ton of starting pitchers that I absolutely love, and so for the most part, that's going to be what I'm going to be taking in this area, but I kind of want to go a different direction because I feel like I've talked about them a good amount this offseason already. So I think it's worth mentioning that Luis Robert Jr. At pick 87 is his ADP right now. He was a guy who was an easy fade for me when he was going in the second and third rounds and even fourth round when with all of his injury issues and playing on the White Sox. And I get that he's still on the White Sox, but I think we tend to get too low on guys at times when they really struggle coming off of a year like he is. And this is the point now where you can get him in the 6th round. And I think you can, I feel like he's fallen to the 7th round. He's kind of towards the end of the 6th. I think you can probably get him in the 7th in a decent amount of drafts too. And I just think that his skill set, I mean, he can easily return, 3rd round value. Like he has those skills. So I just think we need to keep that in mind because you're not having to pay the premium on him where, you don't have to pay for the skills that you're getting. And that's when I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm not super interested in Luis Robert this year. On top of all the injuries that he's had, we're talking about a guy here. He did manage to play 145 in 2023, but previous to that, it was 98, 68. On top of that, like the underlying contact skills have been getting worse and worse. He's dropped his zone contact percentage down to 82%. His O swing is about 36%. Swing strike rate is 17.5%. Like, I don't know what he is anymore. I know there's power in there. I know there's speed in there, but it is a truly terrible team. So runs and RBIs are going to be a problem. I do think if he shows health, though, there's a chance he gets traded, but it may not be till midseason. So you're going to have to do with a midseason of a guy who's surrounded by nothing in Chicago. I understand that this is a huge price dip, but I think this is one of those things where it's like, just because it's a huge price dip doesn't mean you should be buying it.
Okay, well, we disagree because I think this is the time to buy in on him.
Okay. My other argument against him is this round is loaded, absolutely loaded with talent. And I mean,
yeah, and that's the thing. I still will most likely be taking starting pitching in this range, but
yeah,
if the draft goes differently, if for whatever reason I take a starting pitcher earlier, or I feel like I need an offensive guy to plug in at that point, I have no problem taking him at that point.
Yeah. Like I said, this round is loaded. So like there were so many guys I could have chose from. My favorite guy is Spencer Schwellenbach. I just think he is an ace.
Yeah.
And he's an ace you're getting outside of the top 5 rounds, which for me is like money in the bank, especially like you and I both said, we're probably not taking a crap ton of early starting pitching, at least right now. So like Spencer Schwellenbach in the 6th round, sign me up. I'll probably honestly take him in the 5th. But like in the 6th round, that's great. I also love, like I said, almost every guy in this round. Imanaga, Sal Perez, Brandon Doyle, Kyle Schwarber, Bailey Ober, Wilson Contreras, Aaron Nola, Tanner Bybee, Luis Castillo. Like all of these guys I love. Even Ryan Walker I like a lot as kind of a fallback option if you miss out on early closers or if you want to take an early second closer. And like Junior Caminero is a guy like I'm not probably drafting him at this price, but like I totally understand why people are. Like this was a really hard one to figure out one I didn't like for.
Yeah, no, ditto. By the way, like 90% of this round, I love. I won't say that I love Luis Castillo or Aaron Nola, but I think they're solid.
Aaron Nola is just guaranteed volume.
Yeah, he is. I want something. I just think there's other guys who are better. Okay. With Ryan Walker, is there any at this point in the offseason, is there any question that he's the closer?
I don't think so.
Okay.
At first, I was a little afraid that Camilo Duvall is still going to be on the roster, but
Camilo Duvall, I'd be afraid of. Are they going to sign or trade for someone?
I don't think we'll sign or trade for anybody. Okay. But the underlying skills on Walker are amazing. And here's the thing: Bob Melvin is like, I have my guy. I'm going to use my guy. And Camilo Duvall was never his guy. That was Gabe Kapler's guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like so far as Gabe Kapler had a guy, Gabe Kapler was kind of notorious for not really. He was one of the most frustrating managers to try to figure out with closers.
He was mostly that in Philadelphia. In San Francisco, he actually just stuck by his dudes until they were terrible. Right. He had that kind of people had that perception of him, but I think it was mostly because of Philadelphia, not because of San Francisco. But I do think that Ryan Walker is a dude, so like I have no problem drafting him.
I mean, the only issue is that I just think that there's so much value in the starting pitching going that round that I can't do it.
Yeah. For me, it's only like I drafted Ryan Walker. I had to do a mock draft for an article. And I drafted Ryan Walker and I got him in like the 9th round. And I was like, okay, fine.
Woo!
Like, I'll take that all day long.
Oh, yeah.
All right. What about guys you hate? And like I said, we both said like we love this round, so it was really difficult to find someone to hate. And we both picked the same guy, and you switched off to someone else.
Yeah.
Just so we'd have someone different. So who do you quote unquote hate this round?
Yeah, you can start it off since we both hate.
Okay, yeah. And like it's not that I hate the guy either. Like I think he's actually gonna be good. The ADP for me on Roki Sasaki is way too high. Like we've never seen a pitcher in the major leagues. He has a history of injuries back in Japan. And I don't know what he is yet. Like this is I just think this is way too high. Like he should be going like 150, not 83 or 84. Like I think this is just insanely high. Like people passing on Schwellenbach and Tanner Bybee and Luis Castillo, because Sasaki's going to rise. Like this price is not done right here. Like I think he's going to be in the top 60 picks, maybe even top 50 picks coming main event draft. So like, good luck. Like
so I
can't.
Yeah, I don't think he should be going around 150, but I do think he should be going around like 100. Like after maybe like Hunter Brown is off the board, but like then when there's like Logan Webb, Grayson Rodriguez, Tyler Glass, now Sonny Gray, I could see taking him ahead of some of those guys. But the thing is, there's a lot of injury risk here. He was actually recommended for Tommy John a couple of years ago, but didn't end up getting it. Yeah, he's been plagued by injuries. They're saying like he might only pitch 100 innings this year. They're definitely going to give him time off often, because I think that the Dodgers are going to go with a 6-man rotation too. So think about that. You're not going to be getting those 2 starts hardly ever with him, if ever. I think that they're just going to be looking to give him, an extra day whenever possible. So I think if you plug in, I think he's going to be elite though. I'm not concerned with the innings. Like not the innings. I'm not concerned with him. We've never seen him face MLB hitting. I think he's going to do really well. It's everything else that it's not worth a pick in the top 80, 4 picks. There's just other guys going there that I would rather have.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And so that was my original pick, but then you picked him. So I switched off to a guy who I don't like hate or anything. I can never see myself taking, and that's Cal Raleigh, going around like at the end of the round, ADP 89 right now. The power is legit, but the contact skills are such that at any point he can fall off a cliff and hit 210, 220. I don't think he'll lose playing time because of the fact that he's really good defensively, but he hits in Seattle, which is the anti-Coors. I think if you haven't realized it by now, the way that you think about Coors and to a lesser extent Great American Ballpark as hitters parks, you need to start thinking about Seattle as the big version of that. So I really want to avoid any hitting there that I can. And I can't take him with who's going around him. Like there's all these elite starting pitching. And then on top of that, you've got some good closers like Ryan Walker. You've got Wilson Contreras going like 8 picks before him, who I would much rather have. It's just, there's no shot I'm taking Cal Raleigh in any draft.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, he's not off my draft board, but for me, like,
he'd have to fall real far.
Yeah, like if I'm going to take a catcher that early, it's because they're going to give me a really safe floor and usually some batting average, right? Like, and Cal Raleigh gives you a lot of power. Like, the power is great, but like, that's a huge batting average sinkhole potential. Like, he could hit, 180. Like right. that's in the cards right there. Like I don't project him for that. And I think that the projections like on Fangraphs, for instance, like that have him around 220 to 230 or 215 to 230 are probably right. Like but I know there is an outcome in which he plays a ton, because he does play a ton, and he gives you a 180 batting average. Like that could be devastating for your team. So like for me, I don't want to deal with that batting average sinkhole, especially this early.
Yeah, I mean the Bat X, which has pretty much been the more accurate system for hitters, has him at 213. So do it that way. I mean, it's just, if your upside is like 230, your downside, like you said, could be like 190. Yeah. So like there's just no world where I'm going to be taking Cal Raleigh anywhere near that price point. Now
on base percentage leagues, I know you don't play on base percentage leagues, but right. In OBP leagues, I'm totally fine drafting him, right? He's got a double-digit walk rate that really offsets that batting average. It's still not a great on base percentage, but it is palatable. And then you're getting the 600 plate appearances with a bunch of power. So, but from a batting average standpoint, I think it's just too risky.
Yep.
So, all right, let's move on to the 7th round. Talking picks 90 through 105. Who's the guy you love?
Yeah, there's definitely a few here that I still love as well, but I kind of did a dichotomy between 2 different first basemen going like around the same pick. I love Christian Walker and I hate Josh Naylor for going in this area. I just think Christian Walker is one of the safest, easiest investments to make. first base is pretty weak, and he's a guy that I feel like I can count on for a solid average and a lot of power. And now he's going to Houston, which is going to be great for him.
Yeah.
I was looking into park factor, so he's a right-handed hitter, and in
the Crawford boxes.
Yeah, this is the place where Bregman hit 41 homers one year, so he's got significantly more power than Bregman. He's coming from Arizona, which had a park factor of 94 for home runs for righties, to Houston, which has 105. But that, again, like you said with the Crawford boxes, if you pull it right down the line, it's significantly higher than 105 right down the line. So if he can adjust his approach to do that, he could hit probably close to 50, frankly. But I'm not expecting that, but I just think it's such an easy pick. Whereas with Josh Naylor going to for those of you who don't know, by the way, and I was talking to some people earlier about this, like Frank Stamfel was asking me about what happened with Progressive Field last year, Cleveland's Park. They took out some of these big shipping containers in the outfield, and they claim it created a wind tunnel. Me and my friends were like making fun of it, like, oh yeah, wind tunnel, okay, whatever. But you look at the effects that it had. I mean, the Guardians were hitting a lot of home runs at home last year, and their park played significantly for lefties. It was really, really good. So had a 104 park factor with a 106 hit park factor, and then a 116 for home runs. So it was real high for home runs last year. And Josh Naylor took advantage of that. Now he's going to Arizona from 116 in Cleveland to a 76. Chase is actually the worst park for lefty power in baseball, which is crazy to think about. So yeah, Josh Naylor, he's a guy who he doesn't miss significant time, but he doesn't take great care of his body. He's someone who I think he's not going to age super well, and I just think like he always has these little ticky-tack things, and I think eventually he's going to miss some serious time. And I'm not interested in him at this point in the draft.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to be taking Naylor just because I'm going to be addressing other needs or other positions. But I don't mind Josh Naylor. Like I don't have the major concerns that you do. Yes, this is the worst park. The numbers will come down, but I think the ADP is fine. Like I said, he's not a target for me, but not the guy I'm taking off my board by any stretch of the imagination. I do love Christian Walker. I think that park was made for him. And now he's going to be hitting in, the middle of that. At least the top half of that lineup is really good. Obviously, the bottom half of that lineup is Ben Gamel, but I think Walker's going to have a massive year. So like, yeah, if I was taking a first baseman in this area, it's Christian Walker. It's not Josh Naylor. So I do agree with your sentiment there, at least in that regard. The guy I love and the guy I hate are two guys I have talked extensively about this offseason and previously. Everybody knows I love Marcus Semien. All he does is volume. Marcus Semien is the only thing we have in terms of an Iron Man in baseball nowadays. His games played are absolutely insane. He has missed a total of 4 games over the last 4 seasons combined. He's played 162, 161, 162, 159. If you ignore the 2020 season, we can go back to 2018, where he only missed 3 games that year. Didn't miss a single game in 2019. He is just a volume workhorse, and I know like the numbers aren't necessarily flashy, and last year was a down year, but I think he got a bit unlucky in terms of the BABIP. I think just in general, everything was a down year in Texas. I think the whole team is going to rebound this year. I love Marcus Semien. He's probably one of my favorite targets in the draft period.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It did seem like power was down. Like Texas's park factors were all way down last year compared to the prior 2 years. So it seemed like something was going on there. And whatever it was particularly affected Semien, I think. So because I think
part of it was just a deader ball.
It could have been. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything going on with the humidity in Texas or whatever. But like,
well, they have a dome, so.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works, to be frank. With even in a dome or whatever. But like hard hit rate, barrel rate, contact rate, all within his norms. His max EV was actually his highest of his career. Like walk rate, K rate, nothing was out of the ordinary last year. So I don't know about the steals. Like I think the days of him stealing 15 plus bases might be gone.
Yeah.
I think we're probably looking at maybe 10, maybe 12 at most. But I
Bochy
think
doesn't like to run.
Yeah, but I mean, I think as long as you're, if you're projecting a guy for 25 homers with a, decent average and good counting stats, I think he's your guy.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy I hate is Max Fried. This just I worry about the elbow. I mean, he's had reoccurring forearm elbow issues over the course of the last few years. I know he just got paid. I'm happy for him. It is a great team that he's going to be playing for. And I did draft him actually in a Gladiator because I got him as my SP3. But like, I still am petrified of Max Fried. And when he's on the mound, he's great. I'm just too scared.
Yeah, I mean, Fried and Hunter Green, same thing for me. Grayson Rodriguez, all those guys, I'm avoiding based on health.
All right. All right. Then let's move on into the next round. We're talking round 8, picks 105 through 120. Who's the guy you love?
Jake Burger. And I think the only real downside is his potential spot in the lineup because they do have a pretty stacked lineup where it is kind of difficult to see him hitting, in a, cleanup or something. But he could. Like, the thing is, roster resource has Jock Peterson hitting 4th. There's no guarantee that Jock Peterson's going to be hitting above Jake Burger necessarily. I don't know about this Jung and Evan Carter hitting ahead of Burger. I don't think that's likely to happen at all. I would probably.
Yeah, I think Burger hits 6. I think you flip Young and Burger there.
I think that's the most likely thing to happen, but also if Burger starts mashing, they could easily move him up to 4 or 5. So
yeah,
I'm not concerned about his spot in the lineup basically. And this is another situation where, granted, Texas's park did not play like it last year, but he's going from a park that suppresses right-handed power in Miami with an 86 home run park factor to a park that really helps right-handed home run power in Texas with a 116. So that's a difference of 30 right there. So it's huge for Burger, who already still hit a bunch of homers in Miami last year as it is. And this is a guy who has not only first base, but also third base eligibility. And I think both positions are pretty difficult to fill this year compared to other years. And it's an easy pick for me. I just love Jake Burger.
I'm with you on Jake Burger. Yeah, I love the power. I love him getting away from Miami into that stacked lineup. I do think he'll find himself moving up the lineup at times. But he can also struggle. So I think he's going to kind of bounce around quite a bit. So, I agree. I think this is a great price on Burger. Like we were talking about, guys like Pete Alonso, guys like Kyle Schwarber, and you can get Jake Burger this late. Fine, I'll take that all day long.
Same type of profile. Are you going to tell me that Burger can't hit as many home runs as those two? He absolutely can.
Plus the third base eligibility is awesome. So,
right.
All right, the guy I love. This was actually a really difficult round for me. And so I kind of just went with who I might take. But honestly, if you're looking at the ADP, the 105 through 120, it's like Jake Burger or bust for me in this round. So like, I like Cody Bellinger. I don't know how much I like Cody Bellinger at that price. I don't
have any problem with Anthony Santander. He's getting a bit of an upgrade too, going to Toronto.
Yeah.
So
I probably should have gone with like Trevor Megill.
Trevor Megill is a very good pick there. I think that if I need to, that's probably where I'm going.
I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with Trevor Megill. I was going to go with Justin Steele, but I just think Trevor Megill is pretty close to being kind of an elite closer that people are just not giving credit to right now. So
yeah, I think he's got a leash there too.
Yeah, I think he's pretty set in stone now that Devin Williams is gone. So, Trevor Megill, if he's my closer too, I'm totally fine with that. Even if he's my closer one, and I kind of skip out on closers a little bit, I love Trevor Megill. So I think that is the right call there. For my guy I hate, I just went with the rest of the round. I really dislike this round for the most part. Like there are some other guys I like, Vinny P. I will always have like kind of a soft spot in my heart for him. Zach Gallen, always have a soft spot in my heart for him. You mentioned Jake Berger. Santander, I am fine with, but probably just not drafting. But there's so many guys in this round that I absolutely would not touch. I've never been a Will Smith guy. Tyler Glasnow scares the crap out of me, even though the price is fine. Jeff Hoffman scares the crap out of me, even though the price is fine. Tristan Casas continues to be the guy that like people go back to the well on. I still don't know who he is at this point. And like I understand like we've got some people who are big Red Sox fans in our industry. And I'm talking about you, Eric Cross and Eric Samolsky, that love Tristan Casas. If you know what Tristan Casas is, or if you say you know what Tristan Casas is at this point, I think you're lying. Like I don't think anybody knows what he is at this point.
I think we know that he's got his power is legitimate, right? Like
yes, absolutely, for sure.
It's just what is the average going to be? Where is he going to hit in the lineup? Can he stay healthy? Because his issue last year, I mean, he missed how many months because of that oblique? Like he kept swinging so hard that he was causing himself oblique issues. Like, is he going to be able to tamper down the power? Like the swings, will the power still be there if he does? Like, there's just too many question marks for me with him. And I think he's a fine, like if he falls a little bit and you're like, okay, I just need to go big on power here because I need power, I'm fine with taking a shot on him. But everybody else here I'd rather have Jake Berger. I'd rather have Anthony Santander. There's other guys even later that I'd take over him too, where I can't rely on him as my starting first baseman.
Yeah.
Another thing that people keep, nobody's mentioning Sonny Gray. He ended the season with right forearm flexor tendonitis. So something that could be kind of preceding possible Tommy John at some point. So
he's 35.
What was that? He's 35 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a 35-year-old. So
yeah,
I think he's 35 if I'm remembering correctly.
If we find out in a couple of weeks that Sonny Gray is fucked coming to spring training, as we often learn, that would not surprise me in the least.
Yeah, he is 35. Turned 35 in November. So, supposedly he's on track to have a regular offseason.
Yeah.
All right. Who's the guy you hate?
I went with Spencer Steer. It looked like I get his appeal, and I think because he's in Great American Ballpark, it can mask a lot of his issues. But the fact is, he's just not really a very good hitter. Like you look at his stats, and he was the guy who I faded last year, and hit low hard hit rate below 40%, barrel rate under 7%, contact rate under 80%. That's fine. I mean, like he doesn't strike out a ton. He walks. That's fine. But I think you're going to get the home runs and the steals if he keeps playing every day. But he hit 225 last year, and I think that that's well within the realm of possibility for him. Like, I don't think he's a good hitter. Like, I think he can hit 220, 230. I think he'll give you home runs and steals if he keeps getting regular run. But when you struggle that much, those are the kind of guys who can be benched at some point or at least get a bunch of days off. So I just, for this point in the draft, when you've got better hitters on the board, I'm just not going to be taking Spencer Steer.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
And he doesn't have the like 4 position flexibility that he had last year either. So he's down to just first in the outfield now. He doesn't have last year he had like third, short, outfield, first, or something like that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not fighting over Spencer Steer. Like I said, I don't really like this round for the most part. So let's move to the next round. We're talking round 9. picks 120 through 135. Who's the guy you love?
So I went with this is an area that I also don't particularly love this part of the draft, but I do really love Luis Garcia Jr. And there are some downsides here because he is a lefty and he didn't play versus a lot of lefties last year, but he also massively improved versus them last year in the second half. I think from June 1st on, he hit 286 against lefties. Like, he doesn't have his power isn't there versus lefties, but he has really good contact ability. And last year he was on record saying, I just started swinging the bat harder. And so then when I started hitting the ball harder and, like the results followed. I just think he's a really good hitter. And I think he can give you a, power speed combo with also the ability to hit 280 plus. Like he can potentially hit close to 300. So this is at a position like second base where I hate so many of the options. He really stands out to me.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all. I've been a big Luis Garcia fan for quite a long time. And so for me, like, it was really, really amazing to see him break out last year, except for I didn't get any shares because I finally gave up. And it was mostly because the Nationals came out in spring training and said, like, we don't know if he's going to be on the roster. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, who are you guys playing at second base? And ultimately, I was right. And, but I still didn't profit from it. So, but yeah, I'm here for the Luis Garcia love. For me, the guy I love is Shea Langeliers. And it is because he is just a huge power source at the catcher position. And I think the underlying skills tell me that he's going to be kind of, a little bit of what he was last year, but even better, moving to a better park, right? They're leaving Oakland. They're going to Sacramento. Yes, you're not going to get a good average from him, but like, this is the reason why you don't draft Cal Raleigh, is because you can get Cal Raleigh in Langeliers way later. So if you're looking for power from the catcher position, you can get it. He had an 83% zone contact percentage last year, which is a huge improvement, and could mean that we could be looking at a better average. The XBA was 241. He just rockets the ball. A 113.7 max exit velocity, a 90 or a 91 average exit velocity, 44% hard hit percentage, 13% barrel percentages each of the last two seasons. I like Langeliers a lot, and that team is starting to get a little bit better. Yes, the average won't be great, but like, there's a really good chance he hits like 240 and like 35 bombs.
Yeah, I agree. It looked like he made some adjustments in the second half. He started hitting a lot more line drives, which is good for the average because he hit like closer to 250 in the second half, where he was like 200 in the first half. Now, will that stick moving forward? We don't know. Like you said, the average risk is still there. He could hit 210, but I think he's honestly a better average bet than Raleigh.
Absolutely.
To hit like at least, I would say I would put him down for like 235, and you can hope that he gets closer to 245, maybe even 250. But with the power that he's giving you at a later draft cost, so I like it.
Yeah. I'm absolutely agree with you. So, well, of course I do. I'm the one who said it first. All right, who's the guy you hate?
Yeah, this is another tough round. There was, again, I'm trying to avoid just saying the injury fades. There's a lot of pitchers with a lot of injury risk here. I just went with Kirby Yates, and I'm sure like his ADP will probably be falling after the recent comments that it sounds like Dave Roberts came out and said that that Scott will get the bulk of the saves, and who knows how it shakes out. Yates could end up being the guy at some point. I just think if you're paying up for either of them, I think it's a mistake. I think it could easily be a committee. One of them could eventually come out with the job. I don't know, but it's not worth even at this point in the draft, we're still too early to be taking that kind of risk on saves with round 9. There's other guys going that you could get safer saves from.
Yeah, I think this ADP is going to drop considerably here.
It could, yeah.
I don't think now when it does, if it craters, I'll take some gambles on Kirby Yates because I know that they're hinting at it being Tanner Scott, but I don't believe Dave Roberts at all that he's going to go with one dude. And Tanner Scott has had reoccurring control issues over the course of his career. Would not be shocking to me if he loses his job. That
doesn't really concern me, to be honest. Like he had a rough start last year, but he was elite after that. I don't know. That's not really as concerning to me. I just think it could be more that Kirby Yates kind of has the closer tag, but they paid Tanner Scott like a closer. So
money doesn't matter to them. It's all future monopoly money for them.
Right.
True. Like this is a team that wants to win another World Series. They're going to go with the best guy. If Scott struggles at all, they'll go to Kirby Yates.
Oh, and that's part of it too. Is that I think the leash doesn't need to be very long for whoever's closing there because they have so many guys who can close.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guy I hate is just another injury guy, right? Like Bryan Woo keeps having these reoccurring elbow, forearm issues that have not been addressed. And I just think he's a ticking time bomb. And like I understand that the skills on a per inning basis are great, but there are other guys like that in the draft that I could take a gamble on that don't have reoccurring elbow issues. So I will not be drafting Bryan Woo once again.
Yeah, I mean, I put out a tweet about him earlier this offseason, basically highlighting those issues. It very much – I couldn't believe he made it through the year. I mean, he missed some time, but I thought he was going to end up getting Tommy John last year. So
yeah, I did too.
I think it's just going to be pushed back slightly. So he's another guy who could easily come to camp and, oh, he's fucked. He needs Tommy John. Like, that could easily happen with him. And I will not be taking any Bryan Woo.
Yep. Yeah, this is a reoccurring theme for me today. All right, let's move on to the next round and finish out the rounds for today, which is round 10. Picks 135 through 150. Who do you love?
This was an area where I didn't love a lot. There's like I kind of thought about going with Dylan Cruz. You could get some cheap close like Ryan Presley going there is a nice closer too. Target. David Bednar, same thing. I think he's got some good leash in Pittsburgh, even though the skills weren't good last year. But I ended up going with JT Realmuto, who's actually going at the end of the round too. I just think unless you think he's just done, I think there's a good chance that we see a bit of a bounce back this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally here for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing with Paul Goldschmidt. I think the skills are still there. I think he just with the knee injury, he wasn't running as much, and I think that probably affected his hitting a bit too. I mean, his launch angle was way down. But like all of the power hard hit metrics all look like they're still there. I could easily see something closer to his 2023 season. 12 plus steals even added in too. He's going to give you a good average. When you're getting that kind of skill at catcher in the 10th round, I mean, that's the other thing too, is if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, he's still going to be better than half the catchers, even with an off season. So
yeah, absolutely. I do think that the one issue with Realmuto, I'm not saying you shouldn't draft him because I definitely will have shares of Realmuto this year, is he will not be able to volume in the way he has in the past. I think you really have to project 450 plate appearances. You have Bryce Harper at first base. You have Kyle Schwarber at DH. There's just not an extra spot. Now, he'll fill in for those guys occasionally here and there. Yeah. But, he's not getting 30 games in each of those, right? We're not getting back to the days of JT Realmuto getting 590 plate appearances or even 560. You cap him. You say, hey, I'm projecting 450 plate appearances. What does this come out to? I think it comes out to, 18, 19 home runs and 8 or 9 stolen bases and a good batting average, which is fine, totally fine for the position. But I think that this is more about drafting a very high floor than drafting a high ceiling.
Yes, exactly.
which I'm totally fine with. I do that all the time. My guy I love is David Bednar. Again, this is another round. I really just don't like it. And so it was really difficult for me to find a guy that I really was like, oh, this is who I want to talk about. I just think David Bednar is going a little bit too low. Like, I get that he was bad at points last year. He's still going to be the guy. And there's really nobody else in that bullpen that I trust. And I just feel like he's going to bounce back. Now, if he looks terrible in spring, maybe I ditch that idea. But we're talking about a guy the 3 previous seasons to last year had 2, sub 3 ERAs, usually low 2 ERA, with a crap ton of strikeouts and a crap ton of saves, right? So, like, I feel like I'm willing to give him a little bit of a pass as long as he's healthy in spring training to kind of get back to being the guy that he was.
I do. My one concern with him is the thing that makes it look less random is that last year they had the pitch clock, and he's a big guy, and big guys have typically struggled with the pitch clock. So I do worry that could be part of it, but his home run rate was way higher last year than it's ever been, 1.4, or at least, not since he first came up, where in very few innings. So yeah, I just think like it's probably the right time to invest in him as a closer too. I think he's a lot safer than most. I just think, like you said, there's no one else there. I think that they kept going back to him last year. He had like a 5.77 ERA, and they kept going back to him to close games. So he had 23 saves. I think he's the guy. So I haven't seen them do anything that tells me otherwise. So I think for a closer too, you're getting a really safe closer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. What about the guy you hate in this round?
I went with Jason Dominguez. I like the talent. I don't want him here. Like, I just think that people are maybe projecting a little bit too much. Like, I think you can count on the speed. I don't know about the power and the average right off the bat. He's probably going to be, I actually didn't even look, but he's probably not hitting in a great place in the lineup, I'm assuming.
He's currently projected at 8th in the lineup.
Yeah, 8th.
And I could see him get up to 6th.
You could. I just think like you're paying up a lot for Dominguez right now, and I just there's a lot of guys going, I don't know, like after him that I could easily see outproducing him, and it's just not the route I'm going to take. Again, I'm trying to take non-injury guys this round. There's a bunch of other guys I would avoid before him, like pitchers, but for hitting, it's just not where I'm going to go.
No, I don't have a problem with that. Like, I mean, I don't. To me, like, this isn't that bad of a price considering usually prospects with like big profiles like get pushed up. I think he's going to be one of them. If he has a good spring, watch out on this ADP. It's going to move up, and then I'll definitely be out. I don't have a problem with the ADP. Like, I think he could be a 2020 guy. I do agree with you that I don't think the power is fully developed yet. So I think you're just kind of relying on the speed. But I also think he's one of those guys that's going to slow down as he gets more powerful. So, but that being said, like, he's not a guy that I hate, but he's definitely not a guy I'm drafting very much this year, if at all. The guy that I am not drafting at all this year is Kodai Senga.
Yeah.
Like, coming off of a year last year where he threw a total of 5 1/3 inning. I know it was a good 5 1/3. But like, that's it. That's all he threw all season. And it was in the middle of July. I have zero interest in drafting Senga until he proves health.
Yep. Yeah. He's an easy fade for me. He had PRP, which very often is just used to mask the symptoms to try to push through before getting Tommy John. So we never really got to see if that was the case because he came back for like one partial start and then went out with a different injury. I think people even at this point in the draft, it's still way too early to take that kind of a risk.
Yeah, I just to me, like, I just think it's way too risky. All right, let's talk about some of the worst investments in fantasy baseball. And you know what? I'm gonna let you kind of lead this one since this was your section that you put together.
Yeah.
And then I'll just kind of chime in after you're done talking.
Okay. So I often talk about like what are the worst things, what are the worst types of investments you can make in fantasy baseball. I think that the number one worst thing you can do is invest in currently injured starting pitching with starting pitchers with arm injuries. I think it's highly likely a lot of them get overly optimistic timelines. They don't return nearly as soon as you're thinking they're going to come back. And then even when they come back, you're not using them the first start back. They have to ramp up. They could have setbacks. And if they get blasted their first outing, you're probably not starting them the next outing. And if they get hit hard again, you're probably not starting them to start after that. The timeline keeps getting pushed back further and further and further. I think people in their mind think, oh, I'm getting the prime version of this pitcher back. They said late April. So late April, I'm getting Spencer Strider. He's going to be an ace from late April on. It doesn't work that way. You have to be more realistic about it. And also you have to think, are you getting that prime version? Probably not. You're probably getting a lesser version of them. Guys coming off of Tommy John, you're getting guys who are probably going to be struggling with their control for a while. And that's assuming they've had the 18 months, because sometimes we've got guys coming back sooner and people want to assume that, oh, yeah, they're good to go at this point. And very rarely is that the case. So for me, that's my number one. Like, if you and I know, Justin, this is a lesson that you learned your first year in the main event. Having guys who are starting the year on the IL is just such a bad investment.
It is. It's terrible. Now, I wasn't drafting any Tommy John returnee guys. There were just guys who got injured in spring.
Right.
But, I think it's just a bad investment in general. Like, especially pitchers, if they're projected to miss more than a week or two of spring or of the season, like, it's just a bad investment because, like, it always gets put back. And for those who don't know, in 2019, I drafted both Luis Severino and Carlos Martinez. Both were supposed to be back by May. And my theory on it was my first main event. And my theory was, if I can survive until May, I'm winning this league and I'm going to place in the overall. Spoiler alert, I did not survive until May.
And when they came back, what did you get?
Well, Carlos Martinez didn't come back until like August.
Right.
I can't remember how good Severino was when he came back, but it didn't matter. Carlos Martinez wasn't on my roster. And like, because here's the problem when you draft guys like this. You were giving up a roster spot and you were hoping the rest of your team stays healthy. This is the year Giancarlo Stanton breaks down. This is the year that Byron Buxton breaks down. This is the year that DeGrom breaks down. Like, all of a sudden, all those injuries compounded, and I had to drop a bunch of guys, right? And it's because I put like 4 guys on my bench that were on the IL, and I was like, oh, I can survive, for a month, and I couldn't. I absolutely couldn't.
I think I talked about compounding risks last week on the pod, and you don't want to take a bunch of risks, period. You definitely don't want to take a bunch of the same risks. You don't want to take just multiple guys who are starting on the IL. I don't even want to take one, to be honest with you. But if you're going to take one, have it be a hitter coming off of an injury that you're very certain is not going to affect their play once they come back. Like, that is something that can happen. If it's like a hip injury or, I don't know, shin, ankle, something like that. Something where you're pretty sure that once they're back, okay, there's no reason that they can't be their full self. We were talking about Cody Senga. He was supposed to return early May, I think they said initially.
Yeah.
Then it got pushed back to May 27th, and then he finally came back July 26th, and then was removed from his first start and didn't come back again after that until October, when he was activated for the playoffs as a reliever, I believe. So, it was a completely wasted season for Senga. And I think that this is going to be another wasted season for Senga, unfortunately. So, just pitchers starting on the IL, you're going to save yourself so much of a headache, and you're not getting. I know you think you're getting away with something, like you're getting this huge value. You're not. You're not getting the healthy version of them. So we kind of talked about starting pitchers coming off of Tommy John or the internal brace, which is sort of similar to Tommy John. You want to allow 18 months for Tommy John. I know that the internal brace guys can come back quicker. I don't know what the timeline of that looks like at this point. I guess we'll find out how Strider comes back. But the other thing you have to worry about is once they come back, are you going to get – usually their control is off for months. So you're not getting the prime version of that player back. You're getting a lesser version. So I don't think that any of these ADPs on these guys coming back is worthwhile at this point. And then guys coming off their second Tommy John and internal brace procedure, guys like McClanahan this year. I really don't know what to expect with that. We saw that with Walker Buehler last year coming off of his second Tommy John. He looked horrible. He was sort of useful as a reliever in the World Series, but other than that, we saw a horrendous version of him. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to get. And I just think it's a 50-50 shot at best that you're going to get a really good version of McClanahan or in guys like coming off their second. And I think Strider too, he had Tommy John. Now he's coming off of internal brace. If you're considering those the same or whether you consider them different, pretty much the same thing. So I kind of look at him as coming off his second Tommy John.
I look at it as different because it is a different procedure. That being said, there's not a lot of information on how guys fare coming off of internal braces. Like it's such a new surgery.
Right.
And for me, I don't want to draft guys coming off of Tommy John or the internal brace surgery. I want to see at least someone finishing the year on the mound, right? Like, for instance, like Robbie Ray's a really good, kind of barometer, right? I wasn't drafting Robbie Ray last year. I don't mind drafting Robbie Ray this year. I think this is a good year to draft Robbie Ray, right? He finished the year healthy on the mound.
Yeah.
But guys like Strider, guys like McClanahan, outside of leagues where I have unlimited IL spots, I'm not drafting them, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I've got unlimited IL spots, fine. I will take a gamble if the price is right.
Yes.
But, like, in NFBC, even in Yahoo, where I think you usually have 3 IL spots, or ESPN, where you have 3 IL spots, you can't draft those guys. Your IL spots will fill up so fast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're gonna everybody's just like, like trying to jump injured players up to throw them on the IL, and it's not that's not the way to do it. It's if a guy falls and it makes sense at that point, then fine. But
absolutely,
otherwise, it's not worth it. So the other thing, another bad investment is starting pitchers who ended the season hurt with an arm injury, especially forearm or elbow. Sometimes shoulder injuries. It depends on what it is. It might not be a death knell. But forearm and elbow injuries, if someone ends the season with that, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is saying, oh, well, they've got all offseason to get healthy, so they're fine. That is not how that works.
That's terrible logic.
That's horrible logic. If you're ending the season injured, assuming that rest is just going to fix them, is that, again, that's really, really bad thinking. So, guys like Sonny Gray, who ended the year with forearm flexor tendonitis, that could be a precursor to Tommy John. I think I mentioned this earlier. So, like, just look at the guys who ended the season injured. If we're talking about an arm injury, specifically forearm and elbow are the ones that I really want to avoid. If they didn't get a procedure done in the offseason, assume that they're still fucked. So those are really bad investments. Now I'm going to look at some of the hitting categories of players that I think are bad investments. Hitters coming into the season injured, it's less risky in some cases than starting pitchers coming in injured, but it depends on what the injury is. It depends on what kind of a hitter they are. So, like, specifically hitters who are coming off of wrist or shoulder surgery, like Tatis was a couple of years ago, you want to avoid, especially power hitters who are coming off of wrist or shoulder surgeries. I believe Josh Jung is coming off of, was that this year or last year? I can't remember now. You're muted.
Last year he was coming off of it, but he was coming into last season. He was coming off of it, but last year he struggled with injuries anyways.
Right. Yeah. And so it's been proven that guys coming off of wrist and shoulder surgeries struggle power-wise the following year. So if they got surgery in the offseason after the 2024 season, don't invest in them in 2025, invest in them in 2026. So, yeah, basically anybody coming off of wrist shoulder surgery, I'm avoiding hitter-wise. Another big thing is players coming off of career years who have finally stayed healthy for the first time, and now they have to stay healthy to pay off their draft costs. That would be like Jazz Chisholm this year. A guy who he's always been hurt, finally stayed healthy, had a monster season, and now everybody who wants him has to pay up with a second-round pick for him. This is a bad investment because you should be looking to buy low on the guys who are coming off of a bad year, but everything looks like it should be okay coming in. You don't want to be paying up for the guys who they now have to stay healthy in order to pay off that value. So Jorge Soler, I still remember 2019, he hit like 50 homers. And then in 2020, he was horrible because 2019 was the first year he stayed healthy finally. And then the next year, it was the short season, but he was bad. And then he never had a year like that again. You don't want to pay up for the career years, essentially. You want to find the guys who regression should bring them back into a good value. Do you do that? Do you avoid the guys coming off career years?
For me, it is a case-by-case basis. I definitely avoid the guys who have been injured and then stayed healthy for one season.
Yeah.
And so like Jazz Chisholm, not a guy that I'm going to be ended up in drafts with, right? Just because I won't project him for enough plate appearances where it makes sense. That being said, for me, it's a case-by-case basis. I'm looking for skills, right? Like,
yeah,
I think technically Brenton Doyle and Lawrence Butler would fall into two guys that had career years, but were kind of awful prior. Now they're younger, but for me, the underlying skills tell me, hey, I think this is sustainable. Like, I think this, like what they did in that breakout, is something they can carry forward, and so I'm actually actively targeting them.
This is not like a guy finally has their first breakout year. That's not that. I mean, Jazz has been around for several years.
And I understand what you're saying. I'm just giving examples. I'm just trying. Off the top of my head, I'm having a hard time coming up with a good example of a guy who fits the mold a little bit more. But I understand what you're saying. For me, it is because progression isn't linear, right? Like, some guys will break out later on in their career, and maybe it is just a matter of, hey, they learned something different, or they finally, started doing something that works, like Luis Garcia, like, again, another young guy. But, so for me, I take it by a case-by-case basis. But, yeah, often I'll see things and I'll go, like, hey, like, this guy had a massive year out of nowhere, and you look under the hood and they go, oh, he just got lucky. The skills aren't really that good. And yet, in those cases, I tend to just kind of stay away from them.
Yeah, we're talking about guys who've been in the league for several years and where health has been a concern for them. We're not talking about
health usually is, I'm very much like you, right? Like I've learned my lesson with health. Like, one good year does not erase 5 bad ones. This is why I didn't buy in on Ketel Marte last year, right?
Yeah.
But now he's giving me back-to-back years of health, and I'm willing to be a little bit more in on him this year.
The next type of bad draft investment is left-handed hitters who they're not stars and they struggle versus lefties, especially if they have a history of struggling versus lefties. So like guys like going into last year, Nolan Gorman, Cedric Mullins, Gavin Lux. Like, if there's a guy who doesn't hit lefties at the MLB level, I go back and look, did they hit them in the minors? And that tells me a lot. Like, should I be expecting them to continue to struggle versus lefties or not? And guys like Bryson Stott, and I mentioned Colton Cowser earlier, You know, I don't know about Cowser because, like you said, his defense might keep him in the lineup. And he wasn't horrible versus lefties. He was just below average. But like a guy like Bryson Stott concerns me. Like he's going to like pick 170. He was pretty bad versus lefties, and he's been bad versus lefties several years. And they finally started sitting him a good amount last year. So like that's the kind of guy I avoid. And in prior years, there's been other guys that stand out. I can't remember who, but a lot of times that's how I find some of my easiest skill fades is by looking at the left-handed hitters who struggle versus lefties. They're like they have a tendency to lose playing time, and then you know if they're just becoming a platoon bat, like an Evan Carter, that kind of thing. Those are the kind of guys that I typically avoid unless I can get them at a late enough cost that a platoon guy makes sense.
Yeah, I think that is the right strategy. Now, I mean, Bryson Stott, I do like, but I do have some concerns with his potential to be platoon. And especially because he's not like an elite defender necessarily. Like I think he's probably just above average. Like his defense won't keep him in even if he's struggling against lefties. So I think that's a name I kind of go back and forth on where I go, man, I really like some of the underlying skills. And then I don't. So that'll be one I'm going to continue to kind of go back and forth on all off season.
I think he sat more than you think he did last year is the thing. Like
okay.
That's something that I put some stock into. And then the other thing is you have to look at the stolen bases. Some guys who one of the other biggest investments that are worst investments are the guys who you're drafting for steals who are not good hitters. So, you know, this is like, Astros Ruiz last year, for example. He was a huge fade for me because people were drafting him saying, well, I don't need to worry about steals. I'll just draft Astros Ruiz. I'm like, okay, but the problem is, how do you know he's going to stay in the lineup? Because he's not a good hitter. Yeah. And if you're not a good hitter, even if you're elite defensively, I mean, we saw with Miles Straw, Billy Hamilton, they were really good defensively. It didn't keep him in the lineup. If you're just a bad hitter, those are not the kind of guys that you can rely on for steals. So don't be the guy waiting and then taking a guy like that. Stolen base assets who have a history of lower body injuries. You know, don't be relying on your steals. Like Nico Hoerner is a guy who concerns me. Guys who have that kind of injury track record to their lower body, because that's what they need to continue to run, and that can go away at any point. And then also steals guys going once they hit their mid-30s of age, sometimes even early to mid-30s, you can start to see the steals kind of dissipate over time, and sometimes just falls off a cliff. So I never want to be reliant on a guy in their early to mid-30s or definitely not late 30s for steals also.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of those. I tend to stay away from injury guys. I think the stolen base only guys who aren't good hitters, I think you actually should kind of use that for like power only guys or batting average only guys as well, right? And because guys who are like solo category producers, if you lose those guys, it's really hard to make up for it, right? Like if in your projections, you are projecting your roster construction, you're projecting a guy to get you 50 stolen bases or 40 stolen bases, or 30 bombs or hit 300, and you lose that guy, because injuries just happen to anybody. Like that's really difficult to make up for. Like it's just, like it's the whole Billy Hamilton and like Chris Carter, debate that happened years and years ago, where people were like, hey, if I pair Chris Carter and Billy Hamilton, I've got, pretty much like two players who come out to 25-25 because Chris Carter's going to hit 50 bombs and Billy Hamilton's going to steal 50 bases. And then they both sucked and your team was destroyed.
Yeah.
So like it just it sets you up for failure relying on those guys. If you fall into one of those guys, great. Like, hey, I wasn't planning on drafting a Jacob Young, who I think can steal 40 bases, but he was there and like, you know, like he fit kind of my team at that point, and now I've got a bonus of a bunch of extra stolen bases. Totally fine with that. But if you're going in relying upon a guy to steal you 50 bases or hit you 30-something bombs, or like 40 bombs, like, and he's not offering something else, if he gets hurt, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Or what if you don't get him? Like, what if that's in your draft plan and then someone else takes him? And that's what we see a lot with those steals guys is people end up having to jump them up several rounds just to make sure they get them because their entire draft plan relies on that. Building a team with balanced players who can give you homers and steals is so much better than taking the guys who are just the extreme power or extreme average or extreme steals guys. It's a much better with a higher floor, higher ceiling. Everything is works out better when you build that way.
Absolutely. All right, I like that segment. That was fun. Let's move over and talk about the Turf draft, another Earth League draft that happened. Turf is the Turnpike League, so it's like New York, New Jersey area. So we have a complete board without names. So we're going to offend some friends in the industry right now by just trashing some teams. Obviously, like, you know, we're not trying to pick on anybody. If we say something bad about your team, like, it's not like something where we think you're a bad player, or a bad analyst. We just, you know, we're just doing analysis.
No, I didn't say that I am picking on you, and I do think you're a bad player and bad analyst.
Okay, well, I'm hoping I can't even remember who's in this league. So
well, I know based on who. So Steve Brunn is the commissioner.
Okay,
and I know Eric Samolsky's in the league.
Good. I hope I trash Eric's team. Let's find Casas on here. I'm gonna guess he's team 8.
You think Casas is on Samolsky's team?
Yeah, that's my guess.
Okay. Let's see, Casas.
I actually like this team too.
So he deleted his comment. He had tweeted something about, I can't wait to hear Dave's thoughts about my like super injury plagued starters or something. I'm like, oh boy, okay. Let's just start with team 1 and go through and just kind of give a comment or two on what we see. So team 1 started with Shohei, Ketel Marte, Ronald Acuna, Yainer Diaz, Michael King. Obviously, the upside is massive here, but the injury risk is also massive. I mean, not just Ohtani, but Acuna too. And as you mentioned, I don't think Ketel Marte is really a huge injury risk, but there is some risk there where I wouldn't want to pair him with those two. And then I love the Michael King as his ace in the 6th or the 5th round. But then he backs it up with McClanahan and Alcantara, and I'm like, oh my god. So that's a lot of risk in that team.
Yeah, I like Michael King in the 5th round. Like, I feel like that's fine. Acuna in the 3rd round, like, I get it because he did kind of fall, but like, we don't know when he's going to be back. My biggest issue is kind of like what you alluded to, which is the starting pitching after Michael King.
Yeah.
Like, this team looks a lot better if in the 4th, like if he just went starter 4-5, instead of Yainer Diaz, or if he takes a starter around 7, like he takes a Logan Webb or a Hunter Brown or like someone like that. And then I can be a little bit more okay. But the pairing of McClanahan and Sandy Alcantara, and Gavin Williams, who's, you know, was dealing with injury last year, Lucas Giolito, Max Scherzer, like, there's way too much injury risk. Like, this is a team that may not have a full starting rotation in April.
Yeah, there's a lot. Now there are some picks I like here. I will point out Goldschmidt in the 10th. I like a lot. Dansby Swanson in the 13th. Like, I like that a lot for how late he got his starting shortstop. And then in the second half of the draft, got Jordan Walker in round 18, Tyro in round 20. Scherzer in round 21 I like that. Even Giolito in round 24. Like, this is the time to take those shots, is like late in the draft. Those are fine. The problem is, like you said, compounding that risk with having taken McClanahan and Alcantara earlier in the draft.
Yeah. There's way too much risk on this team. So
yeah.
Let's move over to team 2. Yeah. They started out Bobby Witt Jr., William Contreras, Austin Riley, Garrett Cole, Jose Altuve. What do you think of this team?
Yeah, I mean, I love getting Bobby Witt because I would take him at 1. I'm not really on board the Wilson Contreras second round train, but I mean,
yeah, it's a little high for me.
He should be good. It's just the inherent risk of catchers. I just don't like to do it that high. Austin Riley in the 3rd is fine. I don't like Garrett Cole at all, so I don't like that pick. Altuve, fine. I like Munoz a lot. Webb is fine. Tanner Scott, pretty high for Tanner Scott. Even though they said he's going to get the brunt of the saves, 8th round is still a bit high for me to pay for that. There's guys who I think have more. Like Bednar in the 11th, I think has more job security than Tanner Scott in the 8th. So I don't hate the team. There's just, I don't know. It just feels like there's something missing from it.
If like there's a number of players I like on this team, and I don't necessarily know that there are like a ton of players I dislike. I think it's weird roster construction. Where's the stolen bases coming from here?
Well, Witt, obviously, but
after that,
Josh Lowe, Jason Dominguez, Altuve will give you some.
Yeah, like
I mean, I don't think it's like dire straits. I just don't think it's as balanced as I would like.
Yeah, it's a weirdly constructed team, and I think there is a little bit of extra risk. You got Neto. We don't know when he's going to be ready for the season. Buxton is always hurt. Garrett Cole has risk.
Well, luckily Neto's only his middle infielder. Like he has a starter at short and second before that.
Yeah, no, I just think the combination of risk is a little issue for me. But I don't like. I definitely think this is a team that could be competitive with some breaks going the right way. If Garrett Cole's Garrett Cole, I think this is a good team.
I just don't like the second half of the picks. Like the second half of the draft, like there's like looking. I mean, I like Brian Hayes in the 26th or 26th, but other than that, like nothing really stands out as like a. I don't know. Mitch Keller, Nick Martinez, Tyler Soderstrom, Higashioka, Jesus Sanchez, Liam Hendricks could come away with the closer job. I do like the Clark Schmidt pick in the 15th though. I don't know. I think it's a solid team. I don't think it's.
I like Jesus Sanchez. I like Nick Martinez. Okay. I think Jose Caballero isn't going to be a starter, so that's a problem. Yeah. Andy Pius not going to be a starter. Hayden Birdsong probably going to start the year in the minors.
I think Caballero is just kind of like oh shit, I need some steals.
And maybe that's where he's trying to catch up. Brian Hayes in the 26th round, fine, like that.
So I'm fine with it at that point for sure.
So I mean, it's not a bad team. It just seems like a weirdly constructed team. So what about team 3? We got team 3. I can already tell you I like this. I haven't even looked at this team. Oh, and then I actually look at the team and I don't like it. All right, we got Ellie De La Cruz, Rafael Devers, Emmanuel Clase, Yamamoto, Bryce Miller as the first 5. Where are you at on this team?
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with De La Cruz, but I'm not taking him over Judge. Probably not over Hosey either. I don't know. I go back and forth there. But Devers in the second I don't like at all with the shoulder injury. Emmanuel Clase, I still have my reservations with him. I'm not taking a closer in the 3rd anyways. Yamamoto, again, he's in a 6-man rotation. 4th round is super early for him. Like there's 0 chance I'm taking him over Michael King or Bryce Miller or even Pablo Lopez. I don't know. There's just I don't love that pick. Although he's the one who took Bryce Miller the next round, so he got him. Brian Reynolds, Luis Robert, Christian Yelich. Robert and Yelich together, I don't know if I'd love that just with the kind of compounding risk there, but I think that there's decent upside there. Spencer Steer, Kodai Senga, we kind of just talked about how we don't like those picks. Robbie Ray a little earlier, a little later. But also, like, where's his closer 2? Like, he spent the 3rd round pick on Clase and then didn't back him up with the closer 2 until maybe Kyle Finnegan in round 21.
Yeah, which I don't mind. Like, I mean, if
But
you're going to take a gamble, Kyle Finnegan.
If you're the third round resource on a closer, you're kind of wasting it by not taking a closer too.
I agree. I'm just saying, I think if Kyle Finnegan probably lands a job somewhere, so like I don't necessarily mind it, but yeah, I think I much would have rather them instead of taking. I'm trying to see where the other closers went. It may just be a matter of the closers went a lot faster than he expected. Instead of taking Kodai Senga in the 10th, you take David Bednar in the 10th,
right? Yeah,
or Trevor Megill in the 10th or the 11th. What Megill went in the middle of the 11th, so.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think there may have just been a closer run, and he thought he could get it back another one in the 12th. But between his pick in the 10th and then his pick in the 12th, David Bednar goes, Megill goes, Ben Joyce goes, Alexis Diaz goes, Fairbanks, Estevez, Romano, all go before. So I think he may have just missed out on the run.
The other thing is he felt like he kept adding guys who can give him steals. Like he started with De La Cruz, who's going to lead the league in steals. And then he added, Robert, Yelich, Steer, Rafaela, Toglia, all these guys run, which is like fine story. But like you should have been like trying to get a big bopper in there, I feel like, to add in. Like you started with De La Cruz, who's going to give you all the steals, and then you kept adding steals when you could have just been adding some power guys to kind of even it out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, like this is just it's just littered with guys that I think have bad plate skills or not bad or bad contact skills. Like you have De La Cruz, like he's got some scary underlying contact skills.
I'm not concerned about De La Cruz. Like
I'm not necessarily saying he's going to be bad. I'm just saying like there are bad contact skills in that profile. We're talking about a guy who has a 79% zone contact rate, which is below the 80% threshold, where I really worry about people. Like that to me, like is a little bit troubling. Now, 31% strikeout rate. Now, I think he'll be fine. Like he hits the ball just so damn hard that like I think that the hits that do get there are just going to go. But like I also think there is a world in which De La Cruz hits like 230 or 240, and you don't want that in the first round. I know all the other stuff that comes with it.
I don't know, man. I'm not seeing that. I mean, like all throughout the minors, he hit 300 like batting average. Like he's a super high BABIP guy. He's a 350 BABIP guy. Like he
hit 235 in 2023.
Yeah, in 427 at bats in his first shot in the majors as a 21-year-old.
He has an XBA of 240 each of the last 2 years. Like if you don't think that's in the profile, you're just
240. Yes, 240 is possible. I thought you were saying like 220. I don't see 220.
Oh no, I said 230. I said
okay. All right.
But like to me, like that's not like yes, I understand all the other stuff he does. And so this is why I have a problem with this team, because he like let's say he takes De La Cruz, he should have like the next pick, he should have been going for a guy who's like a guaranteed 300 hitter.
Yeah.
Like, and Rafael Devers, like I like Devers, but like, are we really thinking he's going to be that? Like, and
yeah, no, I mean,
he's coming off the shoulder injury. I like that he got Bryan Reynolds, but like, there's a lot of risk in Luis Robert Jr. There's a lot of risk in Christian Yelich with a back issue. We talked about Spencer Steer. Like,
and then he also took like Rafael and Toglia. Like,
yeah, Rafaela, Toglia.
Like that average could be a real problem.
Yeah, I like Colt Keith, which is why I thought this is going to be a team I like, because I had the other page up, and I was all like, "Oh, I really like the back half of this draft: Colt Keith, Jose Barrios, Spencer Horwitz, Jose Miranda, Danny Jansen." Like, I like taking a gamble on Jordan Montgomery. Okay, I like the back half of this draft. And I see the front half. I was like, oh no, don't do that. Like even the pitching, like I love Bryce Miller and I love Clase, but I still don't know what Yamamoto is. Kodai Senga is his number 3 starting pitcher. Robbie Ray, I think, is a good gamble, but not when you have like volume concerns already. Eovaldi's always a volume concern. the back half pitching, like I said, I like Cozy Barrios. David Peterson, what is he at this point? Shane Bieber, like, when is he even going to be ready to pitch? Like, it was just
when we're talking about round 25 on, I'm not really judging them based on their volume. Like, these are just taking shots.
I judge it when you already have added all this risk.
Yeah,
because there are other guys who are in round 25 who can volume, and you need volume at this point. All right,
round 25 and on, you could just look at them as, okay, I'm going to ride them until I can't, and then I'll just replace them. I don't think you're really like who are you drafting in round 25 for volume that you think is going to keep on your team the whole year and be good?
Well, let me see. I will go to round 25 and tell you who I like more.
I mean, like Savali, but he's not going to give you volume either. I mean,
no, you're probably right, honestly. But Eduardo Rodriguez,
maybe I don't know if you can count on him for volume though. I mean, I like Ryan Weathers a lot, but volume,
you're probably right here.
But right. It's a problem, but it's not a problem that you can start addressing with those late picks.
You've got to address it earlier.
Correct. I'm just saying, like, by the time you get to those picks, I'm not judging them based on volume after round 25.
It's our job to judge.
Okay. Well, speaking of judge, Team 4.
Okay. Oh, look at that transition right there.
I'm just good like that. We got Aaron Judge, Jackson Merrill, Josh Hader, Framber Valdez, Adley Rutschman, and Jordan Westburg. That is the best start by far that I've seen. First 6 picks. Judge at pick 4, I love. Jackson Merrill at the end of the second round, I really love. I'm not going to be taking Hader that high, but I look, if you're going to go closer, that's a very solid one to go with. Framber Valdez as your ace is fine for me in round 4. Adley Rutschman in the 5th, and then Westburg in the 6th. I love the start. The problem is what happened after that for me. So, Valdez, Framber's the SP1. You don't get your SP2 until Jack Flaherty in the 11th, which is okay. Not as an SP2 though. And then Luis Gil and Ronald Blanco in rounds 13, 14. I like that. I just feel like then the rest of it's like Kerkering in the 14th or the 16th, Ranger Suarez, Brady Singer. I don't think they did enough in starting pitching after that start.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there.
Kirby Yates as a closer too is also not good.
Yeah, kind of a huge mistake, especially when there are other guys on the board. I like this team. I don't love this team. I'm fine with Aaron Judge at 1. I love Jackson Merrill at 2. Fine with Hader in the 3rd. And I'm okay with Valdez. Valdez is fine. I just feel like if you're going to take like kind of an innings eater type in like Valdez, who doesn't have like the massive strikeout upside.
Well, he did in the second half.
Okay, but I want to see, instead of like Jordan Westburg in the 6th, like take another starter.
Yeah.
Like
or even in the 5th.
In the 5th would have been better because you could have gotten Pablo Lopez or Bailey Ober or Spencer Schwellenbach or Alan Nola or Tanner Bybee. Like, and this may be like, hey, I think I can get one of these guys in the 6th round, and then they all go. Like from his pick in the 5th round till his pick in the 6th round, it goes Pablo Lopez, Yoan Duran, Tanner Bybee, Freddie Peralta, Aaron Nola, Shota Imanaga, Bailey Ober, Joe Ryan, Luis Castillo, and then he probably was sitting there going like, "Oh crap, everybody went."
That might have been, looking at it, that would logically follow.
But Framber is your ace, and then your next pitcher is until the 11th round in Jack Flaherty. That to me screams a mistake was made.
Probably, yeah, because like he was 1 pick away from getting Luis Castillo coming back to him in the 6th.
Yeah.
So it's possible that's what happened. Maybe he just felt like Adley in the 5th was too much value to pass on. But yeah, I agree. I think you need to double up on a starter at that point.
Yeah. If you're gonna wait on starting pitching, which I advise, And I think there are going to be some teams here that I really like what they did in this regard. But if you're going to wait on that starting pitching, you need to make sure you kind of double up a little bit.
Right.
So,
right.
And this team didn't do that. Now, that being said, there are lots of aspects of this team I like. I am a Bryce Terang fan. We talked about Merrill as a guy we like. Orion Kirkry in the 16th round, I really like. I'm petrified about short. I don't know if I like him in the 16th round. I just like him as a player.
Okay.
I think Jordan Romano is going to miss time. And so, I think Kirkring is the logical next man up there.
Could be. But are you? I guess if you're willing to hold him, you could just play him for ratios.
Yeah, the 16th round is a little bit high. But JJ Bleday I like. Ranger Suarez I like. Michael Conforto I like.
I do like the Conforto pick a lot. The Ranger Suarez, man, he's such a whip killer. It's tough.
Yeah, and this is a roster construction issue too. I just mentioned I did an NL only mock draft that I had to do for an article, and I loaded up too many whip killers, and it's the reason why I wasn't projected to win the league. I think I was projected to be second, and it's because I was like, oh man, I took Ranger Suarez and Christopher Sanchez and Nestor Cortez.
To be fair, I don't think Christopher Sanchez is going to be that guy this year, but
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that the addition of another pitch is going to be really, really beneficial to him. But you shouldn't project that he's going to all of a sudden be at a whip asset.
Sure.
That's
fair.
All right, let's move on over to Team 5. We have Jose Ramirez, Jazz Chisholm, Matt Olson, Corey Seager, Ozzy Albies. Now, I don't love that he took Chisholm in the second round.
Right.
But everything else I do love.
Yeah. Imagine if you replace Jazz Chisholm with Jackson Merrill. Oh my God, what a banger.
This is one of those teams that I feel like is either going to be first or last.
Well, I don't know. Why do we think that it could be last? We have to. So
because the injury risk that's compounded in Chisholm, Seager, Albies, Glasnow, Steele.
Yeah, but these are not.
I'm still going. Tyler O'Neill.
That's true. Mike Trout.
Pavetta, Reese Hoskins, Dalton Varsho, Merrill Kelly, Justin Verlander, Charlie Morton. This is a YOLO. I actually really don't like this team. I really like Jose Ramirez. I like the Matt Olson pick. I like Corey Seager. But there is way too much compounded risk on this team.
I don't love the Matt Olson pick, if we're being honest. I'd much rather have taken Machado there. Even
I don't love it, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah, we disagree on Michael Harris, but that's another way I could have gone there. But I do love getting Seager in the fourth. That's great.
Too.
Can't argue with Albies in the fifth. Luis Castillo.
I am arguing against Albies in the fifth right now.
Okay,
especially with the rest of this roster construct. I would be fine if he doesn't take Chisholm in the second.
Yeah. But getting Luis Castillo in the sixth is good. And he backed him up. Granted, Glasnow is not the direction I'm going to go, and but Steele is solid as another one in there. And he got Robert Suarez, he got his closer. I don't know if he got a closer too. Jason Foley for Detroit. That's going to be a committee.
Yeah, Foley. Yeah.
So basically, he has one closer. Yeah. So there's definitely some holes. He got. I don't know if he needed him, but he took Xavier Edwards and Luis Rengifo in rounds 11 and 12. With Hosey and Jazz, I don't know that he needed to do that, but when healthy, this team is a banger. But yeah,
yes. Like I said, this is a first or last team. And it's probably not a first or last team. It's probably a first or ninth team. But I see the vision.
It's probably not going to be first, if we're being honest. There's too many risks that he compounded.
There's too many injury risks, yeah. But I could see this team hey, you get another healthy year from Jazz. Corey Seager gives you 550 plate appearances. Ozzie Albies goes back to being the good Ozzie Albies, and all of a sudden, this is a dynamic offense.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on over to Team 6. We've got Gunnar Henderson, Garrett Crochet. Oh, this is Eric. Gunnar Henderson, Garrett Crochet, Edwin Diaz, Langford, Teoscar Hernandez. What do you think of Team 6?
I think I like the Gunnar Henderson start.
Mm-hmm.
I think I understand the Crochet pick. It's not where I'm going to go, but he could be the SP1 this year. He could be better than Skeens, better than Skubal. There's a good amount of risk there, though. I could not take him that early. Edwin Diaz, I think, has more risk than people think too, especially considering the manager there now. I don't like that at all, especially in the third round. I love Langford. I love Teoscar. So I have no problems with that. Joe Ryan is a guy who I initially didn't like, and then looking into it more, I think he could be fine. Coming off of the Terrace Major, I think we talked a little bit about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like then you got Crochet, then Ryan, then Wu, Manaya, Gore. Like that's such a high risk rotation, man.
There is definitely some pitching volume issues here.
Yeah.
Even in the back half, you got Luzardo, Kenley Jansen, Frankie Montas. I like Cody Bradford.
I love the Jake Berger pick. I like where I don't know. Like there's no savior for. I mean, average could be okay, but nothing great.
Mm-hmm. This to me feels a lot like Team 2, where it's like it's got a lot of pieces I like and some pieces I don't like. I just don't know how they fit together.
Yeah. Second half of the draft, I really like the Cody Bradford pick, the Jock Peterson.
I did too. Yep.
Alec Burleson in the 19th is fine.
I like Alec Burleson. I think that's a great pick, actually.
I love the George Springer pick in the 17th round.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah, and I really like some of these picks. I think my biggest issue is the pitching risk, and so this is why when you mentioned that Eric said like something about like, oh, I can't wait you talked about my risky pitching or whatever. I think that's the issue. Like to me, like I love Garrett Crochet. Maybe not as much as everybody else seems to love him this year, but like there is inherent risk with his innings. I don't know where his innings are going to be. Now I think on a per inning basis he could be the best pitcher in baseball, or one of them at least. And so I totally understand why he's going in the second round here. I just don't know that I'm doing that. Like I don't know that I'm taking him over Corbin Burns or George Kirby. So for me, like I think it's a little bit high, but I don't have a problem with it. For me, it's the innings risk there with Brian Wu, with Sean Manaea. And then you add in like it's not innings risk, but like just risk with Mackenzie Gore, innings risk with Jose Luzardo, performance risk with Frankie Montas. Like Andrew Painter is probably not going to be on the team to start the year and probably will get dropped. So it kind of feels like a waste of a pick.
I don't really have a problem with picks like the Painter pick because like
it's round 26. Like if you drop him, you drop him. But
early February, you're round 26. If he makes the rotation, he's going to go way higher. I like making those kind of picks because there's going to be so many obvious pickups week one because so much is going to change from February 8th to March 28th or whatever it is when we can make our first pickup. So I don't really those kind of picks are picks that I like. The Painter pick. I've actually heard from prospect people that he should be ready. So I don't know. Who knows?
I think it's just injury. Like he's coming off of time off of Tommy John. So like I don't know what he's going to be when he comes back. So I do like him though. Like I don't think I'm drafting him in a DC. I draft Painter no problem. In a regular NFBC league where I don't have IL spots, I don't know when he's up. Like I just and I think they're going to be careful with him. They should be. They're top pitching prospects.
But like those are the shots you should be taking in the last 10 picks. Is those
sure. Yeah, and I don't have a problem with it going where it is.
Yeah, if they hit, then it's a massive hit. If not, you drop them. No big deal.
At some point, we're gonna find a team we like. Let's find out if it's Team 7.
Team 7 might be it. Honestly,
I think Team 7 might be it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to talk about it. So Soto in the first round, love that. Freddie Freeman in the second. I'm a little nervous about Freeman's health, but if he's healthy, I'm gonna love this pick. Love Devin Williams in the third. He should have gone ahead of Hader. James Wood is a really interesting gamble that I kind of like. Pablo Lopez, Bailey Ober, those are your top 6. I love all 6. What do you think about Team 7?
So I don't know about the Soto Freeman pairing just because like they're both the high average, not running a lot kind of guys. Yeah. Soto, I think, definitely takes a hit going from the Yankee Stadium to Shea.
Sure.
He's still going to be really good. Don't get me wrong. Like if you could have put Merrill there with Soto, I would have liked it a lot more. But yeah, like you mentioned, Freeman with the ankle injury, maybe, it's not terrible, but it's really nice to have that kind of an average base, and then you can just kind of add to it. Like, he got steals from other guys, James Wood, Luis Garcia, Volpe, Lane Thomas, and they're all like pretty safe, secure spots too. I love the Eugenio Suarez pick, round 14. Yeah. I like the Bregman pick in the 10th. Christopher Sanchez, I'm a big fan, round 12. I love the Pablo Lopez Bailey Ober pairing at the top. I'm not a big Hunter Green fan, but if you stay healthy, it can be good. But he also made some good picks in the second half too. Like Mountcastle with the Walls coming in. I don't know if the playing time is going to be enough, but I think that's a good shot to take in round 16. Brandon Lau, with the way that the Steinbrenner field plays to his strengths, could be really interesting this year. Reese Olson I like a lot. Garrett Mitchell I like. Porter Hodge, not a bad shot to take. Luis L. Ortiz on Cleveland now. I like that. Agustin Ramirez, because I'm hearing that there's a shot he could make the Marlins out of spring training. Those are the kind of shots to take late. Bubic could be interesting if he gets a shot at the rotation. So I really like Team 7. I think this is my favorite team so far.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite team so far. The pitching I love. Lopez Ober is a great starting rotation with Devin Williams as your closer. So this is like, hey, I've waited on starting pitching, but I'm going to double tap here in rounds 5 and 6. I love that. Hunter Green, I'm not a huge fan of necessarily. I do worry about homer problems in Cincinnati. He's also had health issues at times throughout his early career. But as your number 3, I kind of like that. Like I'm okay. Or at least I'm okay with that. Maybe I would have gone a different direction, but honestly, looking at the pitchers that went fairly close
Hunter Brown is right there, right after him.
I think Hunter Brown's the only guy I might take over, but I'm actually totally fine with that pick. Love Christopher Sanchez. Ronaldo Lopez scares me a little bit, but as your starting pitcher 5, I'm fine with it. Reese Olson, I'm fine with. Eric Fetty, I like as just kind of a stable innings eater at the back end of your rotation. I really like this. Brandon Lau in the 17th feels great. Ryan Mountcastle is fine. This is a good team. I think this is a very competitive team. I like Team 7. So we did finally find a team that we like. I think I'm gonna like Team 8 for the most part too, except for a couple picks. But it started off Tatis, Turner, Corbin Burns, Felix Bautista, Marcell Ozuna. What do you think of Team 8?
I not a huge fan. I know you love the Trey Turner in the second round.
Yeah,
pick.
I do.
And so that's why you're saying that.
Yep.
I don't know. I think Tatis and Turner is fine. Corbin Burns in the third for a guy who, unless you think he's going to start getting you the Ks again, that's not where I want to go. Felix Bautista, way too much risk for me. I like Marcell Ozuna. We talked about Cal Raleigh. Like, there's no way I'm taking Cal Raleigh there. I like the Hunter Brown pick a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Process we've kind of talked about, especially ahead of Berger. There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
Royce Lewis, I do not mind taking a shot on Royce Lewis, especially because
it's going in the 9th round.
To that point, the only real injury risk he has is Bautista. So and that's on the pitching side. So I don't hate the Royce Lewis pick there. Jared Jones, okay. I don't know really what I think about him. I'm not a huge fan. Cowser, Boz, Justin Martinez, if he becomes the closer there, he'd be the closer too. I don't know. I feel like there's too much missing here for me that I'm just not a huge fan, especially on the pitching side.
This feels like a Justin Mason team. It's not a perfect Justin Mason team, but it's filled with a lot of guys I love. Trey Turner in the second round, I love. Corbin Burns in the third round, I love. I wish he would have gone with a different closer, but a lot of them went is the problem. There Class A, Hader, Diaz, Williams, Mason Miller, Helsley, Iglesias, and so like he I think he went, Batista's the last guy of this tier, and I want one of these guys. For me, I would have much rather seen him pass on Batista and either take like another hitter or take another starting pitcher right there, and then go get Andres Munoz or Yoan Duran later.
Yes, exactly.
For me, a Burns Valdez, a Burns Cole kind of starting rotation, a Burns Michael King starting rotation feels a lot better. And then instead you grab a hitter, or you grab a starter like Yoan or a reliever like Yoan Duran in the fifth, or in the sixth you grab Andres Munoz. I think that to me is my only real gripe. Other than that, I really like this team. So my monitor's freaking out on me right now.
In the second half of the draft, I like that he took a shot on Nolan Jones in the 17th. I know a lot of people like Nootbaar in the 19th. I think it's fine there.
Yeah, I like that.
Puck in the 20th. He's got a shot to close.
Yep.
Also, he got Puck and Justin Martinez. So hopefully,
so he's getting the Arizona closer. He just doesn't know which one it is yet.
Right. Kumar Rocker in the 21st. I like Tobias Myers in the 22nd. These are some solid picks. Ryan Nelson in the 24th. I don't know if he has a rotation spot, but I love the talent. I think
didn't he get thoracic outlet surgery?
Did he?
Something I didn't know it until I was looking through roster resources. I'm bringing it up right now. He had thoracic outlet surgery last May. No, that's not. That's Kyle Nelson. Okay, I apologize. I'm wrong there.
I'm like,
oh my god. I was like, I took Ryan Nelson off my board in the draft because I saw that and I was like, oh no, he's just our long reliever. He's currently penciled out of the
Ron Nelson.
Oh my god, I seriously took him off my board in the league.
Oops.
Yeah, that is a big oops. I'm glad I went and checked right now.
And then Sean Burke, I like a lot as a 27th round pick. I don't care that he pitches for.
Why? Why do you like Sean Burke?
I mean, were you not part of the whole Sean Burke thread that we had before?
No.
He's got really good swing and miss stuff. I think people write guys off if they're on bad offenses, and I don't really care. I think if he's good enough, he's going to be usable. And there's nobody going around him that has that type of stuff. So yeah, I'm a fan. 27. Okay. That's crazy good.
Yeah, I mean that late, I don't really, there's nothing wrong with taking a gamble there like that. So teammate, I like. I'm not in love with, but I like. Probably putting it right there with Team 7 is kind of my favorite team so far.
Okay, Team 7 ahead of them for sure.
Okay, Team 9, we got Corbin Carroll, Bryce Harper, Kirby, Reagans, Lawrence Butler. I love that start. What about you?
Well, I know you love the George Kirby in the third. I don't love that, and I also think that Reagans is a little bit overvalued where he's going. But I mean, honestly, where he got him, Reagans was not bad. I think it's solid. Like Carroll, Harper, Kirby, Reagans, and then I love Butler in the fifth. I don't think that there's really any like misses there probably. And then Sal Perez in the sixth. Ryan Walker as this closer 1, and then Trevor Megill. I love the closer situation here. Walker in the 7th and Megill in the 11th is phenomenal. That's It's probably ideal for me. The only thing is, I don't know if I would take Ryan Walker over starters going there, but I'm looking, and it looks like most of my targets were off the board by that point because Hunter Brown went the pick before that. So, I really like what they did at the closer. Christian Walker and Xander Bogaerts, I like both of those picks there. Carlos Rodon in the 10th, I'm fine with because he didn't really take any risks early in the draft. There's a lot of no risk until Rodon in the 10th, and that's fine at that point. I really like that approach. And assuming Corbin Carroll's good to go, we're getting power and speed with him and Butler. We're getting plenty of power from Walker and Harper, and then Bogaerts should help the average. So I think this is a pretty well-constructed team, honestly.
Yeah. I love the I'm still kind of figuring out where I have Carroll. Maybe he's a little bit too high for me. But I don't have a problem with it necessarily. I like Harper in the second. Like I've mentioned, I really like George Kirby. And I like the pairing with Reagans. I think that's a really good pairing. Love Lawrence Butler. Ryan Walker, we talked about him earlier. Christian Walker. The Walker combo allows you to do some interesting names. So that's always nice. Xander Bogaerts, I kind of like that in the 9th. Trevor Megill, we love that in the 11th. Nolan Arenado in the 15th feels like he's falling a bit too far.
Yeah, I like it.
I absolutely hate Tyler Fitzgerald, and I would not put him on any of my teams this year. So I will just come out and say that. That being said,
sorry, I was just gonna say he did exactly what we were saying. He took Jon Gray in round 29. So
yeah, the Jon Gray pick, and the Michael Kopech pick. I know Kopech's probably not starting the year on the active roster because he's hurt, but in the 30th round, whatever, you take a gamble, and
Ryan Weathers in the 26th, I love too. That's another one. One I really like.
This is a Hunter Goodman I love in the 22nd round. So Nestor Cortez is fine, Ryan McMahon's fine. This is a really good team. Outside of when my first complaint is round 16, this is a really good team. I like Team 9. Right in the middle, right? This is why I want to draft in the middle.
Exactly. And this is what you can do when you draft in the middle. You have values that fall to you, and he just pretty much took them when they came to him. So yeah, I think this is the best constructed team that we've seen so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's go to round 10, or not round 10, team 10, and talk about the Kyle Tucker, Logan Gilbert, Manny Machado, Raisel Iglesias, Brent Rooker start from team 10. Where you at?
So I don't love Tucker going from Houston to Chicago, but I think, again, he's still – it's like Soto. He's really good. I think he's still going to be really good. He might even run a little bit more. I expect his power and average maybe to be down a little bit there. But overall, I just think the guy is super, super talented. And I think he's safer than Carroll. I think Carroll has a little bit more upside than Tucker.
I think it's fair.
I don't like – I love Gilbert, but I don't like it in the second round. I just think he's super solid, but he's not that guy that you want to pay up for, in my opinion. Crochet at least has the ability to be like the SP1. Gilbert does not. There's less risk there, but I'm not looking to take a starter there. I like Machado a lot in the 3rd. I love Raisel Iglesias. He's about as solid of a closer as they come. Rooker in the 5th, that feels pretty early. But
it does feel early, but I hadn't run the numbers on it. It might actually be right.
That's fine. It could be okay. I probably wouldn't do it myself, but I don't have a problem with it. Even Naga, good. I don't like the Josh Naylor pick, especially a full round ahead of Walker and Berger. Sonny Gray, I have a lot of concerns. Randy in the 9th, I'm fine with. We got Mason Wynn here. We got Castellanos, a solid pick. I love the Isaac Paredes pick in the 14th. Eflin in the 15th, I like. Am I on the right team? Yeah, the right team. This is team 10. You got McCarthy. He picked Christian Campbell. He jumped up to around 16 for him. I think that's early, but if he ends up being the starter, he'll be going earlier than that anyways. He picked up DeLauder later in the draft in case he starts with the Guardians. I don't think he will. for what it's worth, but it's possible. I love the Clay Holmes and Michael Wacha picks in rounds 20 and 21.
I do too.
I like that a lot. And, he's kind of overkilling on steals. You got McCarthy there. You got, Jacob Young, a couple picks after that. Jose Siri. I think he's just kind of going a little overboard on steals there, but I guess he didn't really get a ton of steals earlier in the draft, so I can kind of see why he's doing it.
Yeah, no, I really like this team. So, for me, starting off with Tucker, Gilbert, Machado, Iglesias, those top four, just picture perfect. I know, you're not as big on Gilbert as I am, but, I think that is a picture perfect. I do have to kind of dig into Rooker and kind of see where he kind of falls in my overall ranks and sort of stuff. But I don't have a problem with that. I love him and Aga. I have similar concerns with you on Naylor, just not necessarily that I think he's going to be bad, but I wouldn't take him over Bellinger or Christian Walker or Jake Berger. So honestly, I would have rathered him wait almost 2 rounds and get Pasquantino, right? Or get Goldschmidt later. So
yeah,
that. It's not so much I don't like Naylor. I like the guys who are going after him a little bit more. Sonny Gray is a risk, but you've already locked in 2 starters, so I'm okay with that risk. I just maybe would have passed up on it for a Justin Steele, someone like that.
Or Gallon.
Or who?
Gallon, maybe.
Yeah, for sure on Gallon. Did Gallon go after him?
Yeah.
I'm not even seeing where Gallon. Yeah. Oh yeah, he could have gotten Gallon the next round. So no. he could have taken Luis Garcia there and taken Gallon on the way back. That's probably what I would have done. Or take a risk on Dylan Cruz, right? Get some upside. I like Stevenson. Mason Wynn is a fine, accumulator. I feel like it's a little bit high for him, but I don't love Jordan Romano. I feel like if he took Jordan Romano, he should have pushed up Orion Kirkring. I love the last 3 picks.
Kirkring went super high though, so you might.
Yeah, so maybe he'd been planning to, and then Kirkring went too high. Yeah. So I really love the Castellanos, Paredes, Eflin trio right here, 13 through 15.
Yep.
I think that is a masterpiece of artwork. I agree with you on Christian Campbell. I feel like that is too high, but at the same time, it may end up being a steal in a month from now if he wins the second base job in Boston. I like McCarthy. I hate Christopher Morel, but around 18, who cares, right?
Well, also, he's getting another second base option. If Christian Campbell doesn't work out, at least Morel has a shot. So it's good that he doubled up at that point. Like you said, it would have been much better if he had gone Luis Garcia in the 8th instead of Sonny Gray, but still, it's a very, very well balanced team. That team 7 and 10 did a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like 7, 8, 9, 10 so far. I don't know what the order is yet, but I like them. Let's go to team 11. They started off with J-Rod, Tariq Skubal, DeGrom, Chris Sale, Junior Caminaro. So they went the opposite of what we have been talking about wanting to do, which is kind of push down the starting pitching. They just said, hey, I'm going to dominate starting pitching. They have Spencer Schwellenbach as their number 4, Spencer Strider as their number 5.
Yeah, but this is the law of diminishing returns right here. This is
going to be a problem.
It's a total waste, is what it is. Mm-hmm. I hate this team, honestly. Julio,
they have no offense.
Yeah, Julio in the first is not the guy I want to be relying on, especially if I'm going hardcore pitch. This looks like a team who they are just obsessed with starting pitchers. They jack off to Pitching Ninja.
Whoa. That got excessive.
As I'm wearing a Pitching Ninja hat. No, but it's just it's just why? Why are you doing this? Skubal, DeGrom, Sale, Schwellenbach, Strider, what? Why? What are we doing here? Joyce, Estevez, and Presley, I don't hate it because for rounds 11 through 13 to potentially get 3 closers, okay. I wouldn't have done it that way, but that could work out. I think Joyce has a lot of. They'll have some risk there, but putting them all together, I guess you're probably feeling pretty good about saves. But yeah, like you said, where's the offense going to come from? Cody Bellinger, Junior Caminero is a question mark. Bellinger going to New York is nice, but I don't know what to expect there. Bo Bichette, nobody has any clue what to expect. Hap is fine. Yeah, it's just kind of a mess on offense, and obviously there's a lot of risk there on the pitching side with DeGrom and Sale and Strider. But it's the roster construction is not good.
Yeah, I have some serious issues with the offense here. I love the pitching. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not I don't know that I'm going to be buying in on DeGrom as a third rounder, but
right.
That rotation is unreal. And I love what they did in the closers, right? Like they waited forever and they got 3 guys, at least 2 of them are going to be probably set closers. And potentially 3. Like I think this team wins pitching by a mile, but I just don't know how this offense catches up. Like I don't know what Bo Bichette is anymore. I think Bellinger's going to be good in New York as long as he's healthy, but I don't know what Sean Murphy is anymore.
The second half of the draft is more the same. It's like, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Connor Norby, Joe Adele.
I love TJ Friedel, but is he going to be healthy?
There's so many.
Gavin Lux going to play full time? Is Jonathan Aranda going to play full time?
Probably not.
There's a lot of risk. I love the pitching. I really love the pitching on this team. Even the back end pitching, Grant Holmes, Max Meyer, taking Rasmussen, I love the pitching through and through, but this offense is really bad.
Yeah.
This is a team that is going to dominate pitching and just struggle in hitting. So
it better dominate pitching, because if it doesn't, it's in real trouble. I think ratios wise, I can't see how they don't. But I mean, volume could be a real problem for this team, even on the pitching side.
All right, let's go to Team 12. We got Lindor, Jarren Duran, Dylan Cease, Ryan Helsley, Willy Adames, Aaron Nola as their starting 6. What do you think?
I think it's fine. I think it doesn't stand out to me, but it's also Lindor and Duran. I like that. You're getting 2 combo players. Plenty of speed, solid power. You're getting Cease in the 3rd. Again, I'm not looking to go starting pitching at that point, but if you're getting plenty of innings and Ks. Helsley, I would not have taken over Reisel for sure, but if he stays healthy, okay, you've got your closer. Adames, that's way too high for Adames going to San Fran. We were talking about players switching teams. Well, Adames is going from a team where their home run park factor was 111 to San Fran, which is 79. So, I can't project him for that much. And will they run? I don't think he'll run nearly as much there.
No, I don't think he will.
So, it's just you're taking him coming off of a career year at that's so early. I hate it. Nola is solid, but Schwellenbach, Imanaga, Ober, Joe Ryan, I think I like all of them better than him, honestly. Riley Green is a solid hitter. We talked about Shea Langeliers, solid. I like the Adolis Garcia the 10th. Alexis Diaz, there's a lot of risk there. Bohm, solid hitter. Heliot Ramos, I like a lot, but that seems early. I don't know. It feels like a middle of the road kind of team. Not disaster, but not anything special.
This feels another Justin Mason team that is just missing some pieces. I love the Lindor Duran start. I do think Lindor should be going ahead of guys like Tucker and Carroll and probably Tatis and J-Rod. I think Lindor should be going in the middle of the first round. And the fact that you can get him in the second round in a lot of drafts or at the back end of the first round in a lot of drafts, I think is fantastic. So, and one of the reasons why I'm totally cool drafting towards the back end. Love Jarren Duran. I think he's going to be a stud. Cease, I think, is fine with Aaron Nola paired as his starters. He still bothers me a little bit, and I do wonder if maybe I would have preferred like a Chris Sale or a Cole Reagans there, but I think it's fine. Willie Adames in the 5th, I think, is just a little bit hot. I agree. I think all of his numbers are going to take a step back. It's a worse offense. It's a worse park. It's a team that doesn't run nearly as much. He is an accumulator, but it's accumulator on a bad team. And in the 5th round, that feels like I could have gotten something else. Marcus Semien's right there. You at least get the accumulator on a good team. So I think I have a little bit of an issue there. I still am not a huge Riley Green guy. I like the McLean pick. I like Shea Langeliers. I like Helio Ramos. So like there are a lot of pieces I really like on this team, but I just don't know if it all works together super well. Like I like Jeffrey Springs, Matt Wallner, and Michael Busch. Like the back half of the draft is pretty good. I do like that. But I just don't know if it works well together. And I agree. I think this feels like a 5th or 6th place team.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. Yeah, there's some good late picks. I love the Matthew Boyd and Wilyer Abreu picks late.
I like the Hyeseong Kim pick. Like that is a no risk 25th round pick.
True.
On a Dodger team if he's playing every day.
True. Yeah, Michael Busch, I think is solid. Jeffrey Springs, he had a good second half of the draft.
Yeah, I think that there are some bright points, and like this is a team that could surprise. Like I wouldn't pick it to win,
right?
But I would say like, hey, like things could come together.
Yeah, I'd say like if you told me they finished in 4th or third through 6th, somewhere in that range, I would say that sounds about right.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, then moving on to pick 13.
Team 13.
Yeah, Team 13. Betts, Wheeler, Michael Harris, CJ Abrams, Kyle Schwarber, Freddie Peralta. I mean, you're a Michael Harris guy. Is this your team? You love this team right here?
I mean, I think Betts, Wheeler, Harris is extremely solid and safe. I don't really love the rest of it. I mean, I only see one closer, and it's Jeff Hoffman, who I have a lot of concern with. I love the Arrighetti pick in round 16.
Well, you got Jorge Lopez as closer in Washington.
Okay. Well, okay. And
then he backed up the Hoffman pick with Chad Green.
Okay. I mean, that's fair, but yeah, I still don't love that closer situation. Still real rough. Wheeler, Peralta, Gallen, Yu Darvish. I like it. It's again. I think like Schwarber and Seiya Suzuki. I like. We talked about Real Muto. I'm in on him. Tommy Edman. I like. I think it's a solid team. I don't think it's my favorite, but it's not a disaster either.
I think the big issue on this team, I think there are a number of big issues. I think that this is I'm gonna draft, rabbits or power only guys kind of team that like if this team loses Max Muncy or Kyle Schwarber, do they have enough power? Are those guys going to drag down this team batting average if they play the full year? Like I worry a little bit about that. The pitching I really like. I don't like the Jeff Hoffman thing, but he did back him up with Green. But yeah, Wheeler and Gallen and Freddie Peralta, Darvish. Yeah, I like that. And I like a lot of the other pieces, like Arrighetti. Nick Lodolo, I don't know what he is, but around 17, like, okay, I'm fine taking the gamble. Love David Festa. Like good gamble on Bobby Miller rebounding. Hey, Kobe Mayo, if he makes his team, maybe there is some more power for him.
Festa second feels a little early considering, like, do we even know if he's in the rotation? I mean, he took him ahead of like Grant Holmes and Matthew Boyd and Tobias Myers and Cody Bradford, just like guys that I know should have a role.
Yeah.
DJ
That's
Hurt,
fair.
Brian Bayo. I don't know. It's just that's super early on Festa.
I think Festa is in the rotation.
Okay.
I think he is probably their number 4.
I mean, Bubba Chandler's interesting. A lot of people think, he's very polished. He doesn't walk guys.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to come in and be solid right away.
Yeah.
This
is a fine team. I think this is like another 5th, 6th place team that could surprise.
Yeah, but you are correct. Like the power, like he's leaning.
There's some risk here.
Way too much on Schwarber.
Yeah. If Schwarber has a down power year, or he loses Max Muncy, something like that happens, then I think this team could be in some trouble.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest. Like closer and power are kind of 2 big holes here. So.
Okay.
Yeah, there's worse. It's not Team 11 bad, but it's questionable.
Yeah. All right, then moving on, Team 14 got Yordan, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Blake Snell, O'Neal Cruz, Marcus Semien, Mark Vientos. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
I think this team has the power that Team 13 needs.
Yeah, but Yordan, huge risk here in the first round.
Is the Yordan Pete Crow Armstrong pairing exactly what I was talking about with like Chris Carter, Billy Hamilton? Now Yordan's way better than Chris Carter, but ever was. But there's massive risk in that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of steals here. I mean, O'Neal Cruz will get you some. Obviously, Pete Crow Armstrong. But, where else are your steals coming from? I mean, Cedric Mullins, I don't know if he's going to play enough. I mean, you got family. I don't know. I don't like how this team is constructed. And then I'm fine with Snell, but then he goes Max Fried, Grayson Rodriguez, 2 guys who I'm for help. Yusei Kikuchi going to the Angels. The Angels can't do shit with pitchers. Fott's fine, but the closer 1 is Fairbanks. That's a big. By the way, I was thinking about this. You know how he's got Reynolds, but it doesn't affect him at home. I was wondering if because they were in a dome. I wonder now that they're outside if Reynolds is going to be more of an issue for Fairbanks this year.
Zero idea.
Right. But I mean, then Calvin Fouché is his closer too. Yeah, this is kind of a mess.
Didn't hit the mute button. All right. I think there are certain aspects of the team I really like, right? I love Vlad Guerrero Jr. I love Marcus Semien, especially pairing those 2 guys together. You're now getting 2 massive plate appearance hogs, right? Yeah. That could offset Yordan going down or something like that. I just think this is such a weirdly constructed team.
Yeah.
And Pete Crow Armstrong that's insane. He's going inside the top 10 rounds. He's not a good hitter. I know he's going to get his stolen bases, but he's just not a good hitter. And it's such a weird team. Let me look at the back half. Mullins, Stanton.
Am I missing something? Why the hell did he take Connor Wong in the 14th round? The fuck?
I don't know.
And Ryan went in the 14th? Oh my gosh, this is.
Yeah, this is a weird draft.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah, I like the Johnny DeLuca pick in the 22nd. Tommy Pham pick in the 25th is great. But even the back half, I'm not. I like Mullins obviously because I'm a Mullins guy, but the back half I don't really like that much either. I mean, this is a team that's full of some accumulators, which I tend to like, but I want accumulators with guys who've got some massive upside, and I don't after you get past round 7 or round 6, I don't see the guys with a massive upside, especially offensively, that you took those accumulators to kind of get.
There are some good picks here in the second half that I like. I like the Fouché pick in the 18th. Correa in the 19th is not bad. I know he's going to get hurt, but I am in round 19th. Like you said, DeLuca. I love DJ Hers in round 24. Tommy Pham in round 25. Caleb Durbin in round 26 I like a lot too. If he comes over with that job, that could be very good. Yeah, so there's some picks here I like. I like what you're saying, though. I just don't think the team really works together.
Yeah, I agree. Let's finish off the draft with team 15. He starts off Paul Skeens, Jackson Chourio, Mason Miller, Pete Alonso, Yoan Duran, Tanner Bybee is his top 6. I love that top 6, but I do think we have some problems here. What are you doing?
Well, yeah, it looks kind of like Team 11, like they're both going to be competing for all the pitching categories here.
And their pitching, I don't think overall is as good.
No, I mean, Skeens, Skeens, Bybee, Sasaki, Pepio is not going to be enough to compete with Skubal, DeGrom, Sale, Schwellenbach, Strider.
Yeah.
Mason Miller, closer, way too early on Lucas Urseg, who I don't even think is going to be the closer there. That's round.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Joan Duran. I mean, so that was his closer 3. Urseg, he took a closer 3 in the 8th round because he already had Mason Miller and Joan Duran. So that's just a total waste. It's just way too much pitching in the front half and not enough hitting. I mean, Jackson Chourio and Pete Alonso are the only 2 hitters in the first 8 rounds. So then you got Logan O'Hoppe is the 3rd hitter, and then Stephen Kwan, Parker Meadows. Like, I like these guys, but they're not. You're counting on them to do way too much now.
Yeah.
I mean, the back half, we got Jonathan India. Roman Anthony could be a big pick if he starts with the team. Jackson Jobe, I don't mind that in round 19. Brian Bayo, I like a lot in the 24th.
Yeah, I like that one too. There's way too many gamble picks in the back half, though.
Yeah,
like I like the Roman Anthony pick, and so and I like the Jackson Jobe pick. I actually like both of those picks.
But I mean, then like nearly enough offense, and they don't have enough pitching to dominate the pitching categories. So it's a miss on all fronts.
Yeah, I think so too. So, all right, that's gonna wrap us up for this episode.
Well, wait, before we do that,
yeah.
What's your favorite team? I'm gonna go with Team 9.
I closed it out, so I have no idea what team.
Well, team 8 was the team with Trey Turner in the 2nd overall. Is that your favorite?
I think for me it's Team 7.
The Soto Freeman team?
Yeah, I think especially if Freeman's good to go. I think it's Team 7. Okay. 7, 8, 9, 10 are the teams that I like the best.
Yeah.
So like I think any one of those teams could win it. I do think there are some other teams that could like emerge. And then I think there are the front half of the draft, or front, 5, 6 teams to me, I think missed the mark.
Okay.
So, all right, that will wrap us up. Dave, remind everybody where you can reach and what you're working on.
That would be at RunDMCD on Twitter. And I'm on Blue Sky, but I don't really check it yet. Just preparing for drafts, trying to get everything going in Earth, make sure everything kind of goes according to plan. That draft is coming up in a couple of weeks here, so I'm excited for that. And that's pretty much where I'm at.
You can find me on all social media platforms, Justin Mason FWFB. You can read my work over on Fangraphs and Fantasy Pros. You can hear me on this podcast and Sleeper on the Bus podcast. And I think that's it. TGFBI's coming up. Barf's coming up. I'm excited. Draft season is just about to begin.
Yes, sir.
All right. For Dave and myself, thank you for listening. Have fantastic baseball offseason.